We are live for the 2024 edition of the IAME Grand National Championships here in Mooresville, North Carolina at Trackhouse Motorplex. My name is Caleb Vieska. Joining me here alongside in the booth, the one and only Alexander Searle, who's going to be getting all the intel trackside here this weekend. Alex, it's been a long time coming, but we were out here last year for the 2023 edition, and we've been here since the start of it. This is pretty much where we originated our live stream, so it's good to be back, and this event is always special to us, and I know this weekend being a one-off, it's going to be special to see here from the booth.
Yeah, the fourth running of this incredible event, the IAME Grand Nationals. I mean, like you mentioned, it's a one-off event, so most drivers are accustomed to doing championship-style racing. This is one of those events where you can just go for it all here. A lot of money on the line for the KA drivers, for the X30 Pros, for all the drivers here at Trackhouse Motorplex. This is KA Senior Warmup Group A here, and it's a stacked field, Caleb. I mean, we've talked about it throughout the year, how Trackhouse seems to produce some top-level talent, especially in the KA field, and one of them being the driver right there, Dalton Haynes, and the likes of Paulie Massimino, two drivers local to this incredible racetrack here. Dalton Haynes running double duty on two different go-karts, TB for KA, Sodi Kart under SLA for the X30 Pro category, and he's a driver who really blew up on the scene here a couple years ago at the 2021 edition, did well in 2022, and then 2023 obviously went head-to-head against Joe Turney and won the X30 Pro Grand National title. Looking to go back-to-back here, doing what Ryan Norberg did in 21 and 22, but it's going to be tough, especially to go double duty here. We saw Turney try it last year, third and a first, so it's difficult to do, but nonetheless, he's one of the drivers that could do it.
Yeah, not only that, but there's a driver right behind him, the Speed Concepts Red Speed machine of Frankie Mossman, who makes his return to a go-kart since January, where he almost qualified for a ticket to go over to Sarno later on this year at the Rotax Winter Trophy. And Frankie Mossman makes his return. And speaking of him already earlier on this weekend, he's doing double duty, stepping in for Austin Garrison, who's away here this weekend. But Frankie Mossman, he's had some trouble staying kart fit. He's been, has had a really busy season on the USF Pro 2000 side of things over in the Road to Indy series. But Frankie back this weekend, and he's excited to be back and hopefully win some money. He was a podium finisher last weekend at Portland, so we'll see what Frankie Mossman can do here this weekend. As well for AJ Myers, the Magic Man makes his return here to the KA 100 side of things. We saw him last time out at the Summer Nationals and at the United States Pro Kart Series on the KA 100 side of things as well in the senior category. But this is a different year for AJ Myers, and I spoke to him earlier on this weekend, and he was telling me how different it was. He's kind of gotten used to driving with all these drivers. He's gotten used to racing and being in that KA 100 racecraft mindset of things. So he's going to be one of the drivers to look out for here this weekend. And he has a lot of races under his belt, and he's one of the favorites to come and take the money here this weekend, as we have some racing action already going on. Hayden Jones there in the mix. And the 923 as well, one of the Chad Dawkin racing machines as well, getting a little bit racy here early on in this warm-up session. Bring a name to that number here in a couple of moments' time. But like you said, a very, very stacked class drivers that we see across many series here, Alex.
Yeah, you mentioned Hayden Jones. I mean, he was a driver that was in contention for the SCUSA Pro Championship in X30. Came a couple points away from beating out his teammate there over at Newcastle. So he's a driver that doesn't get in the kart seat too often, but if there's a racetrack where you can get him to hop back in the seat, it's definitely Trackhouse Motorplex, and he is for sure one of the favorites in both classes in the Rawson Performance Group Cosmic. Here, looking further down the order as the checkered flag waved in this session. We see Massimino third, Buscalia, another driver who I'd say is in a breakout year in that KA senior class. He moved up from junior last year, did a couple of senior races, but this year, full-time the senior class, up and down year. He was pretty quick in Dowsman, but nonetheless, I'd say a year that he can look back and say, you know what, this is something that I can grow on heading into his sophomore year next year in the senior category. Further down that order, Steven Iser, a driver as well on the Sodi machine. We've seen him and Isambard throughout the year be pretty quick on board that package. Isambard obviously having a pretty solid year in the KA side after moving from the shifter class. And then Weinberg in eighth, I'd say him on the Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Public has been pretty quick as well. We see Raheem Alibi, Nix Eggleston, a driver that ran junior for most of the year over in the road tax stuff, moving up to senior the past couple of weekends. He's top 10 in warm-up. That's pretty solid for a driver who doesn't race senior very often, Caleb.
Yeah, now we look down here on the grid with our pit camera. Mattel Pappas as well making his debut in senior racing action, as well for the 971 starting right alongside him as we go on to his warm-up session. So Mateo Pappas here this weekend, the lone Orsolin racing driver here, and his team owner, Fabio Orsolin, here. They're pitting under the BJR MDR tent, so familiar faces for this kid from North Carolina. Makes his first senior start as he gets set to go out, and spoke to him earlier on the weekend. He's excited to go out there and get it done, and you see him rubbing on that on the visor strip there of the big Steema, so he's going to look to represent this weekend for that contingent and for that little race group. You know, we've almost had it all. We had the Hog Riders earlier on in the year, especially when we were in our early days, and now the big Steemas have made their resurgence here this weekend. So Mateo Pappas going to look to lead him out onto the racetrack right behind them. Aiden Levy does the double here this weekend. Different colors for him, not the Chad Dawkin Kart Republic this weekend. It's RPM Tony Kart, so look out for Aiden Levy, who's going to be doing the double on what's been a while since he's been on an OTK. So for Aiden Levy, you see him going out here, and that was your SCUSA Pro Tour champion in 2023. And right behind him, teammate Emery Lida makes his return. We heard from him. He's looking to get into the shootout, so we wish the best of luck to our very own Emery Lida. We spoke to him on episode number 24 of KC Grid Talk, and he was telling us that he's excited to go out. Again, if you want to listen into that podcast, if you get bored on a drive home, listen in on Spotify and on YouTube. You can watch the replays there on the Kart Chaser Spotify network. But again, more drivers out there on the racetrack. That's not Colin Brown. That's actually Peyton Phillips, who goes out with Colin Brown's helmet. Eli Warren, Finnegan Bailiff, who's had a strong year all year as well. And if I'm not mistaken, that looks to be Justin Ataconis right behind them in the LN kart there, if I'm not mistaken. That looks a lot like Justin Ataconis, who's had a great year. And again, I mean, we'll speak about that kid as well, who makes his return this weekend to the go-kart. He hasn't been in one since November of last year when he took part of the SCUSA Super Nationals. So look out for Justin Ataconis. You know, he kind of has a hiatus, and then he comes back to the IAME Grand Nationals and gets back on the map. So look out for that kid to be so quick here this weekend. But a couple of drivers out on the racetrack now, and this is going to be one of the last times they actually do the full normal layout. When we get into heat racing action, it's all going to change here, Alex.
Yeah, there's a good look at the 973 of Stephen Miller. I mean, he's got the National Motorsports suit on, but he's on the Chad Dawkin Racing Kart Republic, a team that he left last year to join for Nash for this year. He hasn't been in the kart seat too often, focusing more on the car side of things, but he's back in the kart seat this weekend looking for an IAME Grand National Championship in KA Senior, back on a team that he's familiar with, even though he's got the wrong suit on right now. But nonetheless, Stephen Miller, a driver always in the mix of things there, going around Mateo Pappas. A little further back, there was Parker DeLong, who, if you saw on the socials earlier this weekend, arrived on a yellow Fiat 500, go-kart on the top of it. You know, we always say you don't really need a big trailer, Big Ten, as long as you have a good driver. It doesn't matter how you show up to the racetrack, and I think that was one of the coolest things I've seen in quite some time. Yeah, no, it's definitely cool. You know, we're so used to seeing kind of drivers roll up to the racetrack with the carts on the back of the trucks and whatnot, but that's a whole different level. You know, a Fiat is definitely not a towing car, but if anybody gets a hold of that, that'll earn some sponsorship as we get close here. Finnegan Bailiff, Emery Lida making a little bit of contact there. As we look on, Kai Hunter as well makes his return stateside here this weekend with the Rawson Performance Group team. The Flying Brit already earned his ticket to Sarno earlier on this year. He was very strong at the British Kart Masters Championship over with our friends at Alpha Live. But here this weekend, he joins us here on Kart Chaser, and we'll see how Kai Hunter gets along. And this is probably one of the biggest paydays that he's going to be a part of and race here this weekend. So look out for Kai Hunter, who was your SCUSA Pro Tour round number 2 winner at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. So we know that Brit's going to be so quick, but there's a lot of other drivers who are also going to be really good this weekend. Eli Warren, spoke to him earlier on. He's been struggling quite a bit behind the 8-ball, and that's kind of been the key. You know, you would expect a lot of drivers here to come here, since we've already been here early on this year, and to, you know, be on it right from the start. But this track changes so much with all the racing that goes on. The groove gets a little wider, and that's one of the biggest keys that we've seen across the National Series and across tracks like MCC and a lot of others, Alex. Yeah, for sure. But nonetheless, Eli Warren, I mean, this is how his weekends tend to start, but he usually finds it by at least the Friday, which is what we're on right now. So he's a driver that, you know, no matter what, even if he's behind the 8-ball, like he's mentioned earlier on in the weekend, he seems to be pretty quick. So far for Group B, it's Caleb Gaffar actually leading this group ahead of Levy. Let's run you through a bit of a schedule, the schedule that we're going to see for today. So we're still on the warm-ups. These are all 8-minute long warm-ups. We're on the K Senior Group number letter B. Mini Swift, X30 Junior, X30 Pro will follow that. And then we're going to head straight into 8-minute qualifying sessions, followed by Heat 1. Those are going to be 13 to 15 laps. That's going to be later on this afternoon, starting at around 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll head into some of our shootout races, hopefully expected to start around 7:30 p.m. under the lights here at Trackhouse Motorplex, where we're going to see quite a bit of money on the line. Yeah, so I was terribly mistaken earlier on that LN BJR MDR kart that's out on the racetrack.
That's Jared Clark. We're used to seeing him out at Cup Karts North America, and he's always a front runner there with the BJR MDR team. So Jared Clark makes his third KA Senior race start here this weekend at the IAME Grand National Championship. So look out for this kid who has a lot of laps around this racetrack, runs a club series out here on the KA 100 side of things. So Jared Clark definitely has the best chance this weekend to be one of the standouts here this year and put himself on the map, Alex.
Absolutely, and the pace is there. I mean, he's right behind Finnegan Bailiff right now, hoping to give him a bit of a push here for this warm-up session. Right now, he stands in that 9th position here for Group B. Finn Bailiff struggling slightly for pace down in 11th here, but nonetheless, this is the warm-up session. Rule of thumb usually tends to be you don't want to be too fast in warm-up because it means you're not going to be as fast in qualifying and the heat races, but Jared Clark looks pretty quick so far, getting around Finn Bailiff. In front of him is DeLong. And then Kai Hunter, we saw him get around that group earlier on in this warm-up session. Since then, it seemed to have plateaued for the RPG Cosmic, but then again, it's just warm-up. They're just testing a few things, but because the warm-up is 8 minutes, so too is qualifying. You get a pretty decent read, especially because we head straight into qualifying right after warm-up. You have a decent idea of where you stack up compared to the competition, and with it really only being about maybe 2 hours max between your warm-up session and your next qualifying session, maybe even an hour and a half difference, the track shouldn't evolve too much. That's why a lot of drivers did go out for on new rubber for this warm-up session because you want to get the most amount of data possible. So I think this is a session where if there is ever a warm-up that you want to be pretty fast in, it's this one. Yeah, no, for sure. And again, I mean, you want to be on it right at the start. It all started yesterday when we did about 7 practice sessions starting around the afternoon. And again, later on today, if you want to get yourself in a shot to winning $4,000, you have to be on it right from the start. And it all starts here in this warm-up session because when you get a qualifying, you got to be on it to qualify into that CNC Performance Engineering KA100 shootout. 13 drivers will qualify, 13 sets of free MG tires for a chance to win $4,000. So that's all to play for here, and that's the big thing. You know, for some of these drivers, this is the biggest payday that they'll probably see in their entire careers in karting. You know, we know a lot of these guys have the skill to go up into cars, but again, this is, I think Connor Zilic said it best, it's a big payday in any form of motorsports, but in karting, this is absolute madness, and you know, a huge shout out to the entire IAME East team with Eric Jones leading the charge here and being the importer for this engine package and providing us with some great racing action and a one-off event that everybody wants to put on their calendars here this weekend. So it's always great when we come out here, Alex. It provides us with some great racing action, and we're excited to see how it all kicks off. And you're already seeing starting to kick off now. Kai Hunter and a couple of others already getting in the mix and passing each other here early on. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll run you down your times here in this group for your KA100 Senior Friday Warm-Up B. Caleb Gaffera, the local here. He's currently the fastest in the 969. Checkered flag in the air. Phillips is in second. Hunter's in third. Stephen Miller in fourth. Adam Brickley, who we saw earlier on this weekend on our social media side of things, he's currently fifth. Jared Clark in the sixth spot. Aiden Levy, ninth. Andrew Hamill, eighth. Mateo Pappas, ninth. And Parker DeLong rounds up your top 10 here early on. And again, I got confirmation with Aiden Levy. A lot of, there was some misconceptions about his last name. It is Levy. A lot of people call him Levy, but you have to imagine that there's an I and an E at the end of it here, Alex. So don't make that mistake. Already, Aiden already warned us here last weekend. So all jokes aside, we'll take our first commercial break here of the weekend. Again, you're watching Kart Chasers live coverage of the IAME Grand National Championships. We'll be right back with more warm-up action coming your way.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've travelled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States, and Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Well, welcome back to Trackhouse Motorplex as we continue on with our warm-up sessions now. You look on to your Mini Swift class that gets set to go out onto the racetrack. Royce Vega, Josh Bergman, Simon Jack Klein all making their return here this weekend. Parker Ives as well, who won some money last year, Alex, when we were both calling those races. So he's back out here on the racetrack now. And a good field so far. 24 drivers total here this weekend in the Mini Swift class. And again, this is a pretty big payout for all these drivers as well to win their Swift categories. So look for them to go on and, again, making his return not on the Mini Swift side of things, but on the KA Junior side of things. Lucas Palacio going to be running here this weekend in X30, if I'm not mistaken. So look out for Lucas to be so quick in his X30 package here this weekend with the Kart Sport North America team as everybody else files on to the racetrack. 24 drivers total here this weekend. And Alex, we say it time and time again, every time we see these young guns get out there on the racetrack, they provide us with some of the best racing action that we see all weekend long.
Yeah, Mini Swift, these drivers have been incredibly impressive to watch, one of them being the 106 machine of Royce Vega, who won Supernats last year and has just continued on that trajectory into this year. He's been really strong aboard that Bannock machine and hasn't looked back since. He's been one of the main contenders that we see at every race weekend that we go to on board the Mini Swift machine. Ashton Woon as well, another driver who started the year out, he broke his arm, remember?
Yeah.
And then he came back at Homestead, won his first race, hasn't looked back since. He's been incredibly strong over at USPKS, all the series that he has been competing in. Another driver that's been really good as well, looking down the order. We see that Josh Bergman's here, more that TKG Kart Public. He's yet to get that maiden victory. He's crossed the line first, but he's yet to actually stand on the top step of the podium in the Mini Swift category. But he knows what it feels like now to win, and he's hungry for it. Every time that he doesn't finish on that podium, he always talks to me afterwards. He's frustrated with himself. So that's always good to see from a young driver, that he has that hunger, that fight, and that want for more there. So there's a good look at Bergman on board the neon yellow. Behind him is a good look at one of the Timmy Tech comp carts there. I believe that is Cade Wolf, if I'm not mistaken there. Yeah,
Cade Wolf right behind Josh Bergman here. And he's one of the kids here local to North Carolina, so look out for him to be quick alongside his teammate in Bowen Green here, if I'm not mistaken as well, who I believe is out on the racetrack now. So look out for those two drivers to be quick here this weekend in their Timmy Tech comp carts. They're going to be quick. Sorry, that's Holden Myers, if I'm not mistaken. So Holden Myers, indeed, is out there with Cade Wolf at the moment. So look for them to be quick this weekend, both locals here to North Carolina. And again, Parker Ives as well, who's starting to get into the waters of KA 100 junior racing as well throughout the club scene. Did the RPM camp with the Perry Motorsports team. And he's gaining a lot of racecraft from the likes of Dalton Haynes and others whenever they get into that RPM camp and coach up some of these kids. But Holden Myers, he's going to be quick around here. Look out for a lot of these drivers who have a lot of experience here as well to be quick. But again, this layout really provides us with some good racing action. And the draft, one thing, I mean, we talk about it at other racetracks that we go to, but it's really, really evident here with the long straightaway on the front end of the racetrack and on the back end of the racetrack as well. That's going to be strong and provides us with a lot of passing opportunities here as well. In this corner, especially turn number 8, being one of the biggest passing zones, and you go to 10 and 11, this is a place where we don't see too many passes, but you can set up an over-under And then you go up again here to turn number 12, the final corner on the racetrack here, and onto the long straightaway. Being in the draft, being in the toe is going to be super critical here, and maybe provide you with another pass into turn number 1, or you can stay in the draft, go over the turn number 2 chicane, up into turn number 3, and this is really where you have to start to set up your pass, going for the bull corner in turn number 4. A long back straightaway here that's going to set you up. You see Bergman there on the inside of turn 4, and this is where we're going to see a lot of passes for the win and for a lot of money there. And you go back to turn number 5, that's the next corner, a very sharp left-hander, and then into turn number 6. We haven't seen too many passes, but if you're Dalton Haynes, you're definitely going to want to go there.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Haynes do an incredible move in 6 last year to go out there and win the Grand National Championship against Joe Turney, but the issue with passing into turn number 6 is it compromises you down the hill towards 7 and then to the hairpin of turn 8. So you got to really plan your passes like you mentioned. I think this is a very tricky racetrack if you're in the mini Swift category and below, because it's pretty physical. The grip's going to continue to develop as the weekend goes on, but it's very fast. Turn 1 is almost, if not it is, flat out in the mini Swift category. So out of really the final corner, turn 12, you're planning your pass for turn 4 because you're flat through 1, you climb the hill towards 2 and 3 like you mentioned, Caleb, but if you're the first driver in a pack like Bergman here, you're kind of a sitting duck towards 4 unless the driver in second cuts you a bit of a favor, because it tends to be a bit of a train down the back straightaway the lower the horsepower becomes. As you get into the higher speed classes, you tend to see maybe a 2 or 3 car breakaway, but this is what we're going to expect to see through the heats, through the super heat on Sunday and into the final. Here's a good look at Holden Myers there going through on the inside of turn number 8. To me, that is the best passing opportunity. I think turn 4 into the bull corner is probably the second best, but that brake zone, anytime you can have a sharp hairpin brake zone into a double right following after it, it's pretty easy to make a move there as Holden Myers goes down the inside of turn number 12, which is actually a phenomenal place to pass as well, especially in mini Swift. Final corner on the racetrack, we're going to see a lot of side-by-side action through there, a lot of opportunities to get some over-unders. So it's why we come back to Trackhouse so often. It's why this is one of the best tracks that we go to in terms of passing opportunities, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, it provides some great racing, but you know what I like the most about this place, Alex? That it gives us night racing. Later on today, we're going to see the sparks flying when they go over to the curbs, literally and figuratively as well, because it's going to be a wild KA100 shootout later on in the day. But I mean, I'm excited. Night racing, we haven't done it in a very long time. I can't even tell you when was the last time we went night racing. The last race that I really remember that was under the lights was probably at
Norberg.
Was it? No, we had one after. Oh, well, it was the same weekend actually. So we had 2 night races in one weekend. That was when CKNA had their race just a couple of miles away at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. They went night racing there, and the Norberg Nationals as well. Or we call it Norberg Nats or whatever you want to call it. The Norberg Invitational, we should say. That race was also under lights, and that was the last time we saw racing action. That was all the way back at the start of the year, and now it's been a long time coming, but it's the summer. You know, we're excited to be out here, and it's very, very hot out this weekend. Upwards of the high 90-degree weather and very, very high humidity. So, again, a huge shout-out to our entire Kart Chaser team, our camera guys that are out there, doing what they can to bring you guys all the live shots, and we'll give them a shout-out as soon as these mini Swift drivers work their way into the pits. But, again, our production crew, very strong here this weekend. Simon Sykes back on the switches. Brandon Simone directing the orchestra here for us. Riley Can as well, providing us with some great replays. Trevor Blue as well out here overseeing all operations, and Kyle Cuthbertson bringing everything that you want on the media side of things. As well as Kendall Hedge makes her return here this weekend to the broadcast team. She's working our shoulder camera. Obviously myself and yourself here. We're going to be switching in and out the booth with Xander Clements, who will be on whenever we get in our racing action and qualifying action. And all of our camera guys as the checkered flag comes out. Why don't we take this time to give him a shout out with his camera here now. Jerry Fandry also going to be working his way into the booth later on this weekend. So look out for him. He's sitting up there as Rocco Ruzic as well. Very hot out at the moment. So he's out there into turn number 1 section. You see Rocco there drinking some water. So best of luck there to Rocco here this weekend, right? Jerry Fandry here in the last corner in turn number 12. So Jerry's going to be sniping away here in the last couple of sections and into turn number 8. So look out for Jerry Fandry as well to be out there. Nicholas DeAndre as well, who I heard is getting back in the karting seat next weekend. You see him there in turn number 4 in the bull corner. So Nick, how you doing? Give us a wave here for the fans at home. Hope you're doing good here. And there's Nick DeAndre, and he's pointing his camera right at Jerry Fandry. Jerry, good morning, good afternoon to you. Hope you're doing good as well in the last corner. So a huge shout out to our entire team that makes this possible here for us here this weekend. But your Mini Swift drivers into the pits this time out, and we'll take this advantage to take another commercial break when we come back. The last couple of warm-up sessions, I should say, getting outside of the racetrack with your X30 Juniors and your X30 Pros. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Brandon, Why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is. Braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
Parallel USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parallel Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParalleLUSA.com.
Your X30 Junior is back out onto the racetrack here for the first time on this Friday afternoon, I should say. I wanted to say Saturday afternoon because that's what we're used to, but it's a 3-day event. We flew in yesterday, Alex, and we got here, and there was still some racing action going out onto the racetrack, so that was a cool sight to see under the lights. But here this weekend, your X30 Juniors are out here now and lapping around. The likes of Ty Fisher makes his return to X30 Junior racing action. Behind him, Alexander Vanchev. Lucas Palacio in the mix as well, so look out for that young driver to be quick here as well. And right behind him, one of the Arcane Motorsports machines of Nathan Golseth and Enzo Vinmontien right behind him as well. So a big field here for the X30 Juniors, about 15 to 16 drivers total, Alex.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Ty Fisher. He's been doing double duty for most of the year in the X30 and the KA package, but his words to me when I got to speak to him earlier today was, finally, I'm quick on the X30. He's been struggling all year for pace on board the Race Lab TV machine. He's been quick in KA, but it looks to be like a rocket so far this weekend for the 738 machine behind him. How about that? The carbon black helmet TKG Kart Republic machine. Lucas Palacio, you mentioned it. He's going to be doing the X30 package this weekend, and he tops the board opening lap here in warm-up. He's been incredibly quick ever since he made his move to juniors, but doing some European action and representing America pretty well over there, I'd say, Caleb. So Lucas Palacio is going to be one of the drivers to beat here in X30 Junior. Behind him, Alexander Vanchev. This has been a breakout weekend year for him. On board the Sody Kart USA machine. He hopped on that package earlier on in the year. First couple weekends he struggled, but seemingly figured it out when we went to Dowsman, Wisconsin for round 3 of the United States Pro Kart Series. Hasn't looked back since. The pace has been there. And then behind him, Enzo Vidmontien. He's been quick. He's always quick in every class, every series that he goes to. But this year in particular seems to be one where he has everything figured out in comparison to the other junior drivers. But this might be his toughest weekend yet. Yeah, one big name here missing this weekend, Chico Brown. Not here this weekend, unfortunately, but a couple of his teammates looking to pick up the slack. Peyton Westcott here. She's currently 6th on the timing charts. You go back as well
to Fianchi with the RPG team, and Amador Martinez, what I believe is his first X30 Junior start of the year here at the IAME Grand National Championship. So look out for Amador, who's going to be lapping around here in this warm-up session, as well as Lucas Palacio, who's in this mix right ahead of Enzo Vidmontien, two of the teammates here this weekend. Then you go back to Ty Fisher, Davin Roberts as well, the driver right behind him for the Ryan Perry Motorsports Camp. Right behind these three drivers here in the RPM machine, Davin has been doing double duty as well a lot this year, and he's been quick in both classes, in the KA100 side of things and the X30 Junior side of things as well. So look out for this driver who's not too far from home here this weekend, looking to go around here for the Ryan Perry Motorsports Camp. And you could say a tent teammate to him is right behind him, Nathan Golseth for the Arcade Motorsports Camp. With the under the RPM tent as well here this weekend. He was able to get his maiden regional race victory at the Texas Sprint Racing Series last weekend at his home track at the Dallas Karting Complex, and here this weekend returns to the national side of things. The last time we saw him at a national event, he qualified on the front row alongside Sebastian Garzone, the driver who he beat last weekend. But this weekend, he's had a good showing so far in the X30 side of things, and went P3 in one of the practices yesterday, and today he looks to make his return to the 125cc category in junior classes for Nathan Golseth here this weekend. So look out for that driver to take the fight up to Enzo Vidmontien and others. And then right behind him, a lot more drivers who are looking pretty quick here early on. Ty Fisher currently second fastest, a 48.345. That was his personal best. But by far the fastest so far has been Enzo Vidmontien, a 48.160. There you see Tristan Murphy and a couple of other drivers lapping around for the Speed Concepts racing team. Yeah, so that's going to be Tristan Murphy, the third Ryan Perry Motorsports machine out here in the X30 Junior package. Behind him was William Kim. Amador Martinez seemingly struggling so far for grip and pace right now, and he pulls into the pits for sure. I think there's a bit of an issue on board that Rawlson Performance Group Cosmic. I think he went off in turn number 6 a couple laps ago at the top of our screen. We just missed it when we were following Golseth. But nonetheless, he pulls in the pits here early. You don't want to pull him too early in a warm-up session that leads into qualifying almost immediately afterwards. So he's lacking a little bit of data here. So going in slightly blind, but obviously had the testing yesterday, so shouldn't be too much of an issue for Amador. But these three drivers have been hooked up line of stern here for this entire warm-up session so far of Vanchev, Palacio, and Vidmontien. They sit first, third, and fourth in warm-up, Ty Fisher being the one that splits them up. He seemingly is correct here, Caleb. He told me this morning that he is finally quick in the X30 package. It looks to be the case so far. It's only warm-up, but the Race Lab TV's flying. Yeah, and again, you got to remember the last time we came out here to Trackhouse Motorplex for the United States Pro Kart Series, Ty Fisher had a really good weekend the last time out as well. So look out for Ty, who seems to be loving Trackhouse Motorplex, a kid from Canada as well, looking to earn his ticket to Sarno last week and the weekend before in Canada. So look out for that driver as well, who's one of the favorites coming into this weekend. So Alexander Vanchev as well started his year off with the Zanella Racing team, moved over to Sodi Racing USA, and he's been quick ever since then. So look out for these three drivers to take the fight to each other, and there's a lot more all the way down this field. I think unfortunately for Amador Martinez, he worked his way into the pits here, so he's not going to close this one out. But a lot of others here as well. William Kim in the 755. Yago Lempin makes his return to X30 Junior Racing action. He's in the 733. Jose Halfin as well in the 736. And then you go back to Max Weiland in the 720. Roberts in the 715. Fianchi in the 786. Golseth in the 726. So a lot of drivers here as well. And about 16 drivers total, and I believe that's it. And a little bit of an off there for Lucas Palacio, racing with his teammate and Enzo Vidmontien. So the Trinity Karting Group driver and the Kart Sport North America driver under the Trinity Karting Group tent here this weekend, going at it here a little bit in this morning warm-up session. You can't even really say morning. It's about 1 p.m., about to be 2 p.m., so that is going to be pretty much it here for your X30 Juniors. They're going to work their way into the pits here in a couple of moments' time. Your X30 Pros getting set to go out onto the racetrack, and a couple of new faces coming out as well, Alex. So we'll take this quick commercial break. When we come back, X30 Pro coming your way next.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself, quickly and efficiently. with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
X30 Pro getting set to go out onto the racetrack. We look on with Dalton Haynes and the SLA racing team here this weekend for the X30 Pro side of things. Alongside him, Jacob Kolar in the 305. He was really quick last year when we came to the IAME Grand National Championship, so look out for Jacob Kolar as well to be quick here this weekend. And stepping in for Austin Garrison, Frankie Mossman, right behind Jacob Kolar. He makes his return to the seat. We saw him earlier on this weekend, and earlier on today, I should say, in the KA100 senior side of things. When he went out to his warm-up session, he was really quick, and a debutant here this weekend right behind him. Jackson Warney makes his first senior X30 race start here this weekend at the IAME Grand National Championships, and I think this might be a full move up to the senior racing action side of things. So Jackson Warney back on the OTK product for Speed Concepts Racing, and this driver going to be one to watch as well for a one-off this weekend. Cameron Weinberg makes his return in quite some time to X30 Pro side of things. And then you go back with a couple of other drivers here as well. Carter McMurray and a lot more getting set to go out onto the racetrack. Ryan Norberg back there as well with his RPG contingency. And Josh Holtz, Nick Terlecki, and a lot of others getting set to go here in the X30 Pro side of things, Alex.
Yeah, for sure, and I just got confirmation actually that Jackson Warney, that he is for sure moving up full-time to the senior package there. So we've seen him do some one-off races in the KA side of things, finally moving up to the X30 Pro field for Jackson Warney, and he has proven that he is capable of being up with the top dogs here, as we see Dalton Haynes and Santi Fernandez let a couple of drivers go. They don't want to be the ones that lead this train out for green here in warm-up. Dalton Haynes lets Paulie Massimino by as well. So those are two drivers that we expect to see at the front. You mentioned Mossman, right? Not in the karting seat very often. It's funny that you mentioned that he told you that he's not really in karting shape, considering he does obviously USF Pro 2000, but nonetheless it is much more of a different style of racing here in karting.
Nothing like a go-kart, though.
We've heard a lot of F1 IndyCar drivers come back to karts and say, listen, nothing's as physical as this, and especially when you move up to the X30 and the shifter side of things. So I'm sure Mossman still, he's fine, right? Yeah. They got not a whole lot of power steering in those things, so I'm sure in terms of physicality, he's fine. And the races are obviously longer as well. So it's ironic he said that. I think he might have been lying to you here, Caleb. But
I mean, I don't know. He visibly looked a little bit tired when he was going out to his last couple of sessions, but he is doing double duty here this weekend. So think about that as well. That's something. And I know those drivers who probably are out here that race USF Pro 2000, like the guy right next to us, Simon Sykes, going to argue that cars are probably more physical, but I'll tell you what, karts are very pure form of motorsports. So we'll see what Frankie Mossman can do and represent the entire single-seater, I guess you could say, open-wheel formula racing drivers here this weekend. And we see this quite often here at Trackhouse Motorplex, being, I guess, racing country here. The likes of Will Power coming out here and doing laps as well, having a garage here, and a lot of NASCAR drivers as well that come out here and do a lot of laps, to say the least. But Justin Ataconis, definitely not Jared Clark this time out. It's definitely Justin Ataconis. So he's looking to make a move on Aiden Levy now into turn number 8. He makes his return to the X30 side of things here this weekend. Who's had Ataconis has had a pretty good year in the Spec MX-5 series in the Mazda Miata. So Justin Ataconis definitely going to be one of the drivers to look out for here this weekend. Only a one-off, and probably the last time we'll see him in the kart for the rest of the year. But he's always a favorite coming into his home track.
Yeah, definitely. It's not like he hasn't been driving this year like last year, where it really was kind of a one-off for him. He did this in Super Nationals, obviously moving to college, but nonetheless, he's had an incredible year in the Spec MX-5 Challenge Series. He's your points leader, I believe, in that one. But doing his one-off race here at the IAME Grand Nationals, always a top contender whenever he shows up to the racetrack, whether or not he is in the seats or not. So nonetheless, 3.5 minutes or so to go here in the warm-up session, and Dalton Haynes, Massimino up front, Hayden Jones as well. So 3 locals around this place are 1, 2, and 3, and then it's your reigning national champion in terms of SCUSA Pro Tour. He didn't win it last year, but he's won this event twice already. It's the 348 of Ryan Norberg, Mossman 5th. Carter McMurray, we saw him make his X30 Pro debut over at MCC for United States Pro Kart Series. He's to me one of the contenders. Obviously, he doesn't have a whole lot of senior experience, but that's why he did that move up at MCC. He wanted the experience with these front runners, with these pro drivers, and he got it. And he qualified 6th at MCC, and at a track that he knows very well here at Trackhouse Motorplex. To me, there's no reason why he shouldn't be one of the favorites to go out there and be kind of an underdog here this weekend. Yeah, and already a couple of moves being done. Brandon Carr makes his return as well this weekend, who unfortunately was suffering a rib injury as well earlier on last weekend. I believe he did get that in Canada, so he's been trying to heal ever since. Couldn't run Rotax last weekend, but he is back this weekend here to look to get himself a big payday at the IAME Grand National. So look out for Brandon Carr. And yeah, I guess you could say local as well. Obviously not local and not born and raised here in North Carolina, but has spent a lot of time with the Ives family here in North Carolina and done a lot of laps around this place already this year, coaching and doing what he does. So look out for Brandon Carr to be quick, as well as Nick Terlecki. Look out for him to be quick this weekend. Nick's had a really good year, to say the least. And then you look back to the RPG Cosmics, Ryan Norberg, Quentin McPherson, and a couple of others, Hayden Jones out there as well. So a couple of drivers looking pretty strong here early on. And, I mean, favorite coming into the weekend, obviously Dalton Haynes being his home track. Ryan Norberg, with all the accolades he's gained to his long resume this year. So look out for Norberg to be strong and one of the fan favorites. Massimino, Carr, a lot of drivers really, I could almost go down the field and tell you why this guy has a chance to really get it done here this weekend, but that'll take us forever, Alex. Yeah, well, let's talk about Ryan Norberg's year, right? Last year he was one of, if not the fastest drivers, besides when Joe Turney came to town, and we saw kind of the frustration that he had throughout the year in terms of not being able to knock off, the Brit last year in terms of overall pace and being able to get the win. He's had a couple of chances at it, but this year, Joe Turney didn't really come to many of the races. He's had a very strong year, SCUSA Pro Tour champion. He's an outsider looking in for the United States Pro Kart Series Championship in a couple of weeks' time, but he has been incredibly quick, back to the form that we expect from the Rawlson Performance Group driver, and that's why he is heading into this weekend with 21 go-karts out there for X30 Pro here for the warm-up session. One of the drivers, to me, that is a favorite to go out there and win. Carter McMurray, the 340 machine, Timmy Tech Comp Kart. He's local to this place, has a lot of laps around here. He sits 7th so far in warm-up, only about 3/10 off the pace, but now he's behind Hayden Jones, who's a driver that may be one of the only drivers that has more laps around this place than Carter does. Yeah, and we really need to appreciate seeing Carter here in the senior categories for a couple of months. We thought we weren't going to see him race X30 Pro, but this weekend, I mean, he's shown his pace already early on and in the practice sessions as well. So look out for this driver, and who knows for how long we'll have him. We know his father, Jamie McMurray, here this weekend as well, and his long resume in NASCAR. So look out for this kid to be up there in the Cup Series in a couple of years' time. But for now, we get to appreciate him racing a go-kart here and drops a tire in the process. So we'll get off Carter because I don't want to give him a commentator's curse and see him drop another tire. But we move on throughout the field. Dalton Haynes, quickest driver on the racetrack, a 47.182. He's about a 10th and some change quicker than the rest of the field, and I believe this is his first session on fresh rubber. So this is good for Dalton Haynes to start off the day and to really add that little boost of confidence. Last night, I should say, only had a very used set of rubber that was from Trackhouse Motorplex United States Pro Kart Series. So that was months and months ago, and for Haynes to put this time in early on, the alarms have to sound for everybody else to find that last little bit of pace and try and contend here with Dalton Haynes. You see Fernandez there into the pit shaking his head. Not happy about his session. Last couple of drivers coming across to get the checkered flag this time around. And we'll see if they can move. Austin Perrin there in the SLA Tony Kart. He goes 21st. Everybody else crossing the line now. Paulie Massimino as well. Again, for this driver, his only X30 senior win came at the X30 shootout a couple of years ago. So we'll see what Paulie Massimino can do here this weekend and maybe get himself within another senior race victory here. He is one of the favorites, and again, the shootout for them is going to be tomorrow night. For tonight, some of these drivers are going to have to shift their focus over to the KA100 side of things when the CNC Performance Engineering shootout gets set to go underway under the lights. But everybody coming into the pits now. Haynes the quickest. Brandon Carr about a 10th back. Massimino in 3rd. Mossman in 4th. Ryan Norberg rounds up your top 5. Yeah, I mean, how close is it, right? 10th, like you said, between Carr and Haynes, but you look back to Massimino and Mossman, 3rd and 4th. It's 1,000ths separating 3rd and 4th. Norberg and Hayden Jones actually ran the identical lap times at 5th and 6th. Then it's Atacana, 7th, McMurray, Kolar, Levy. 3.5, a little over 3.5 tenths separates your top 10. It's what we expect when we come to a place like Trackhouse Motorplex, the track that we go to often enough to where even if you're not local here, you still have enough laps on this place. We've come here for years on years. So this is one of those racetracks where we can expect a pretty tight field throughout. Top 15 down to Jackson Wolney, separated by 5.5 tenths of a second. I want to give a couple shout-outs to some drivers that we didn't mention. Cameron Weiberg, 11th. Kieran Rogers, Nick Terlecki, 13th. Nix Eggleston, I mentioned him earlier, moving up from junior into the senior ranks. He's done a couple of one-off races, but now in his X30 Pro debut, I'd say 14th is pretty solid, only about 5 tenths back from Dalton Haynes. This is a racetrack that he doesn't go to very often. He's used to more of the road tax package, so for Eggleston there, I'd be pretty happy with that heading into qualifying.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely not the worst here, finishing inside of the top 15. Again, 13 drivers going to qualify for their shootout tomorrow. So you want to get yourself, in contention for that shootout, for that payday. So you got to be on it from now, because we're about to go into qualifying action, and that's all getting set to come our way here in moments time. I believe engines are getting fired up here, so it's going to be straight into your micro Swifts that go onto the racetrack, Alex. And we talk about these young guns every single weekend, so we'll look out for them to go out onto the racetrack here shortly. So again, the qualifying session is going to be 8 minutes long. It's going to kick off with your micro Swifts that are getting set to go out now. Then you go with your K100 Junior B group, K100 Junior A, and KA Senior B, KA Senior A, and then Mini Swift, X30 Junior, and round up your qualifying session in X30 Pro. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, after this qualifying session, that will be it for your KC live and free coverage for this early afternoon. Later on, for the heat races, I believe it's going to be behind the paywall for your KC Premium members only. So again, for $9.99 a month, become a KC Premium member and watch all the racing action live. And I'm seeing issues here outside of our booth, Alex. Zane Burgess not able to get onto the racetrack right away. Dutch Westbrook as well. They're late to get out. And they're right here, right next to our broadcast booth. So Westbrook in the seat now. He's getting set to go out. Burgess getting out now as well. But that's a late start for these drivers who are already missing almost a minute and a half of qualifying time, Alex.
Yeah, I was looking at the order here, and there was only 10 go-karts out on the racetrack, and I was a little confused on where some of them have gone. So there's Dutch Westbrook. There's Zane Burgess, like you mentioned. They missed about a minute and a half. There's actually, I believe that might have been Wynn Gottschalk as well. Yeah, so the entire Bennett crew late to qualifying here. So all these drivers got an extra lap here to get their tires warmed up. They're going to be at speed coming at a lot of these drivers exiting the pit lane now. So it's going to work out, I think, quite well for the Bennett drivers and for Burgess. But nonetheless, you never really want to lose out on some lap time because these drivers now have a lap and a half of heat in the tires. They're up to speed. They already kind of have their drafting partner figured out. So you're almost, again, behind the 8 ball, and especially for Zane Burgess, who his teammate Jack Katowski is way away from him on this racetrack. So Burgess needs to go out there and find somebody if he wants to have a chance here at a pole position with the 3 Bennetts hooked up line astern.
Yeah, and my big question here is, are you going to want to go all 8 minutes on your fresh MG tires? Is that going to be the strategy coming into this qualifying session? Is that what you're going to do? Is that the best thing to do even? Because it's a long day. I mean, it's a long weekend as well. You have 3 heat races, a super heat as well to end off the weekend, and the main event as well. So it's going to be, something to question here for all these drivers. But we look back on Gottschalk there leading Zane Burgess away, and then right behind him, Dutch Westbrook got out of line to find himself with a good drafting position. He found Jaden Francisco. So I think Westbrook played this out perfectly as well for Westbrook. I mean, we can talk about a lot of these Mini Swift drivers early on in the weekend, but Westbrook got his, as well, another regional race victory to his name last weekend at the Sexton Racing Series. So look out for Westbrook to go at it here with some of the national drivers. And he's right behind Santiago Orioli, who's also been super strong this year, Alex. And everywhere that we see these drivers go, I mean, they're always going to be contenders. But again, about 16 drivers total in this Micro Swift class. And we look on it now, and indeed, 16 drivers total. Westbrook was the last one out onto the racetrack with Burgess and Gottschalk. So wait for the times to start to come in this time around. The fastest at the moment, Isaac Carvalho, so he's quickest with a 53.706, and that changes. Slate Harrell up to the top, a 53.491.
Yeah, you see Burgess to the bottom of the racetrack there, entering turn number 1. He's letting this entire group go. He's going to slot in line to almost the back of his pack, pretty much the back of the pack here behind Lawrence Perriman. A couple of the drivers behind him that are trying to get around Zane Burgess. So this is what I was talking about. even though, yeah, you miss out on a minute and a half, usually your best lap comes towards the end when the entire group gets about a lap and a half of an advantage on you. It's hard to slot in line and figure out a place where you could, find a buddy to work together with. And I think we're seeing that with Westbrook, with Godchalk, and with Burgess, who all try to, put themselves in the mix here in this group, but they're getting pushed to the wayside early on here. 4 minutes to go.
And I think this is almost smart for these drivers. You're not setting in a good lap. You get out of line, look to build up a good enough gap so where you can chase someone, where you can chase a driver. And you see Francisco doing the same thing now with one of his Ryan Perry Motorsports teammates, and what I believe was Parker Stewart. So gets out of line, gets back in line, and then looks to chase the drivers back down to really get himself within a good range of a good lap. As you see Westbrook there going almost sideways on the exit of turn number 3 as they get into turn number 4 now. But again, you don't want to fight it too much here in qualifying. You need a good lap to put yourself in a good starting spot for the heat races later on today, Alex.
Definitely. And we're seeing the Bennett drivers go side by side through the pole corner now down towards 7 and 8. But again, the more you go side by side, the more you have a bit of contact here in the qualifying session, your lap time is going to be ruined. Right now, it's Slate Harrell who actually leads this group. Provisional pole so far, still 3.5 minutes to go, but a 53.491 is the lap time they all have to beat. It's Perriman, Flores, Stewart, Orioli, Carvalho, Francisco, Westbrook, Katowski, and then Mulata, your top 10. If you're wondering who Zane Burgess is, right now he sits 11th in this qualifying session. He's got a pretty decently clean lap this time around, only up to 10th. The more you go side by side, the more you race, the more you try to figure out where you should be in line, the more that they begin to waste, quality lap time around this Trackhouse Motorplex here. Still 3 minutes to go, so a lot of laps left. Still about 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky, if you cross the timing loop correctly. But the more that you waste laps, the tougher it is to actually get a clean lap later on in the session.
So the 88 still quickest here. That's the Super Tuned Parolin machine that's in the mix there with the black and pink helmet there right behind Lawrence Perriman. If I'm not mistaken, Slate is local to North Carolina, so look out for this driver to upset a couple of the drivers that we're so used to seeing up at the front in this Microsoft class. But they continue to go around, and we'll see what it looks like. 2.5 minutes to go left in their qualifying session. For Parker Stewart, going to lead them away. Can anybody improve? No improvements in this group. Everybody kind of staying stagnated at the moment. Godchalk was able to go a personal best lap time of 53.849, but again, going to need a lot more here. Mulata as well, crossed the line in 12th. Garcia 14th, and Camilo Canache currently 16th. So time to get a move on, boys. Just under 2 minutes to go left in this qualifying session.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good lap, though. Finally, the leaders and even the mid-pack group here for qualifying have settled down here and stopped battling. So I believe this is going to be a great lap for the likes of Francisco, for Flores, and for Parker Stewart. Bit of a mistake there for Flores and for Francisco through 8. It's going to bring the likes of Perriman, Godchalk, and the likes of Westbrook as well back into the mix. So this is going to be an interesting lap here, I think, for the Bennett drivers, who last time around got their best lap of the session, 8th and 9th right now at the moment. Only 2.5 tenths separates first from 8th. Let's see as they cross the stripe. Any improvements for any of your top 10? Not going to happen. No personal bests besides Zane Burgess, who sits down in 10th position. He needs 5/10 of a second to go out there and get a pole position. Here's Francisco getting help from Flores to get around the likes of Parker Stewart. But the more you fight, the more you go wide through corners like that, the more chances that you're not going to have a decent lap time here. Maybe at best 2 qualifying laps to go for these Microsoft drivers. But right now it's still Slate Harrell who's looking to upset the Microsoft field and get a pole position.
Yeah, he's definitely running away with it here, and we'll see if these drivers have enough time to cross the stripe. I think they will. Just about 50 seconds to go. The lap time around here about 53, so when they cross the stripe, it's going to be the last time around for all these Microsoft drivers. And like I said earlier, time to get a move on. Make or break. You don't want to pass here this late in the qualifying session. Westbrook getting out of line, but this is it. Who is it going to be? Anybody improving? Nobody as of yet. And again, I think we just may be out of the window here for these MG tires, Alex.
Potentially. I still think we're racing a little bit too much here for qualifying. They got lucky enough to get 2 laps to go in this qualifying session, but nonetheless, we see Francisco tapping the helmet. He wants help from Flores. There's Godchalk and Westbrook going at it. That's 2 Bennett teammates essentially ruining each other's lap times there through the bowl corner. But I really think, like you said, maybe it's partly the window, but usually you don't see much of a tire fall off in this Microsoft class, especially in qualifying. I still believe we're racing a little bit too hard. We see Slate Harrell going for a move on Lawrence Perriman there. A little side-to-side contact with the BJR MTR driver there, with the SLA driver as well. You see the frustration from Harrell. He knows that's going to ruin his lap time, but I don't know if he knows it yet. Right now, he's still provisional pole, so that frustration could become, celebration after this session. One more time around here for these Microswift drivers. No, checkered flag is out. This is the last lap for Microswift. Any improvements inside the top 10? We actually do not. No improvements for anybody in the field. Slate Harrell, pole position so far, unless we see the likes of, I believe, Godshock there crossing the stripe. Not going to happen. That was Sterling Mulatto, sorry. So no improvements besides a couple other drivers here, Caleb.
Camila Canache getting set to cross the stripe now. Zev Godshock as well. Nobody able to improve. And again, depending on how the stewards see the contact in between Harrell and Perriman, that could potentially, and I don't want to speculate here, but that, depending on how, what they see and what they deem of it, that could potentially remove Slate Harrell's fastest lap of the qualifying session. Again, just provisional, but that would take him back to about another 53, which would put him in, I believe, in second. But again, that was close in whatever way you want to call it. But Slate Harrell, the hometown kid, on the pole position. He's going to start alongside Lawrence Perriman when these Microswift drivers get into racing action. And a cool shot there in the background for a mobile camera following around some of these drivers. Burgess only 10th here, Alex. That is surprising for all of us for sure. And you see Slate Harrell there on the camera as he is excited about his first finish on the pole position. So congratulations to Slate Harrell. He's a driver on the pole position here in Microswift. So congrats to that driver, and we're going to have our sights set on your next class. Your KA100 Juniors getting set to go out onto the racetrack here next. Your group letter. Your group B is getting set to go out now, and we'll try and run you down your field here as soon as they work their way out onto the racetrack. So again, two groups for these KA Juniors. Isaac Malquit returning here this weekend for the PSL Burrell Art team. And right behind him, a couple of more. Hamza Ambar for the Arcane Motorsports Camp. And a lot more drivers getting set to go out. Benham Abernathy as well, and a couple of others. So look out for these drivers to go out. Remy Andredos in this field. For Malatesta as well, for Xander Malatesta, Luca Brancati, Max Christia, John Antonino, Alexander Young, Isaac Malquit, and a couple of others as well that are going to be ones to watch here. Again, Enzo Vidmontien, Peyton Westcott, and a lot more drivers still getting set to go out next here in a couple of moments' time. So this is your Group B. That's going to start to set in some lap times, and we'll see what they look like as soon as they start to come in, Alex.
Yeah, so Isaac Malquit's going to lead this first group. This is Group B. They're going to have Group A come out after these drivers here. So Malquit's going to lead them to the first green flag lap here in qualifying. You see the likes of Antonino and others letting a couple drivers by there as Malquit. He wants to be the fourth driver in line. Smart stuff for Isaac Malquit, an experienced driver here in this junior class. He knows a lot about this place. He knows how to be quick around Trackhouse Motorplex. You want to be about fourth. To me, third or fourth is the money spot to get a good tow, a good lap around this place. If you set it up properly, there's Max Christie as well, trying to make up a couple of spots there. So here we go through the infield now for Antonino leading this group. That's the 821 machine there as well of Alexander Young. So it's a pretty strong group here. Further back, a couple other drivers. Again, this is the first of two groups here in the KA100 Junior category. This is going to be decided by what we saw, I believe, in the warm-up session. Yeah, so we'll see what they can do. And again, we saw a lot of the drivers in the X30 Junior class be super quick, but they're not on the racetrack yet. Your Group A is still set to go out, so for Antonino and others, they're going to have to pull something out of the bag here. Alexander Young goes up to second. Antonino goes to the top, a 50.636 for John Antonino Jr. Christia goes up to third. Aiden Augustine to fourth, and Xander Malatesta P5 at the moment. Emerson Lane as well makes his return with the Hotes Driver Development Team. He's currently seventh. Isaac Malquit down in ninth at the moment, so Malquit seeming to be struggling here early on in the session, but he's chasing down Christia and others, so we'll see if he can close down his gap as a move there on the inside for the 821 of Young. He's able to get clear ahead of John Antonino. He's going to lead this group away. Christia looking to go as well. Back in line, and for Isaac Malquit, that's going to slow him down just a little bit, and he's going to catch him at the wrong time, if I'm not mistaken here, Alex. Yeah, it might still work out pretty well for Isaac here as we head towards turn number 12 and now down the front straightaway here. Still 5 minutes to go, a lot left in this qualifying session, but if that Microswift class is anything to go off of here as Antonino goes down the inside of turn number 1 there for Alexander Young, that's going to stack up this group and probably ruin a lot of lap times for the drivers in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. That Microswift class, most drivers had their purple lap on lap 3 or 4. Only one driver inside the top 10 had their best lap on lap 7, and that was Zane Burgess, and it put him 10th. So I still believe that potentially this track's going to get better, these tires going to get better, and if they decide to, actually work together, it should work out. But like you mentioned, really once we get to the junior, the senior categories, that tire life, really lap 3, 4, and 5 is kind of the money lap here. So I think this or the next lap is where we're going to start seeing drivers really need to figure out who they need to work with and the lap that they want. So we saw Max Christia do it down the back straightaway here this lap. He's pointing towards one of the RPM drivers there, saying, let's work together, let's go forward, because Christia, the last couple of laps, has been held up whenever the passes are made in front of him. So now he's decided to put himself into 5th position here. He wants a decent tow as we head into lap number 5 here for qualifying. A couple of personal bests here. Hamza Anbar up to 3rd there. Remy Andretos up to 5th now, the personal best. Indy Anderson up to 7th as well, but no personal best for your top 2 right now, Luca Brancati and Isaac Malquit.
Yeah, and again, I mean, to kind of reiterate what I was mentioning earlier with your Microsoft class, it seems like there's a perfect window for these tires, you know, in around lap 3 or 4 or 5, like you mentioned. But anything past that, it just seems like they're out of that kind of window that they were in. So when we go into your KA senior class, when we go into your X30 Pro class, I'm not going to be surprised at all to see those guys kind of come in around lap number 6 when they're not setting in PBs anymore. And for these drivers and for the Microsoft drivers as well with a little bit less experience, they're kind of not going to probably realize that as much as maybe some of the junior drivers as well. So you try to take out whatever ounce of pace that you have left in the kart. But again, those tires seem to be in a window where the prime window where they go quickest kind of, and they're not kind of, or you could say overheating, but by no means degrading. You know, a tire isn't going to degrade heavily in 8 laps, but we'll get out of that kind of heat, that perfect heat window early on in the session about lap 3 or 4 like we mentioned. So that'll be something to look out for here. Again, if you want to look at it, we're probably on the last lap of that prime window. When you go to lap 6, that'll probably be a little bit over the edge. So we'll see if we're right or if we're just yapping here, Alex.
Yeah, well, this track also seemingly, you want to be in that window, like you mentioned. Lap 3, 4, and 5 is what we see our personal best. Still, your top 2 could not reset that best laps. I will say there's still enough blue on our screen here with personal best to where we'll see when that drop-off begins to happen. Lap 6 was when it happened for Michael Swift here. So when we cross the stripe now for lap number 6, purple, Luca Brucati, 50.199. So the tires are still there for your top 2. Malquit now finally sets a personal best. He goes 2nd. Antonino, another personal best. He goes 5th now. But this is the first lap where only 4 drivers now reset their best lap time of the session. So potentially some tire pressure differences. Also some guys maybe use their tires and their equipment more than they would have liked in the first couple of laps to get up to this lead group and get a pretty decent lap here in qualifying. So it's also to play for 2.5 minutes, a little bit less than that here in qualifying. Maybe if they're lucky 3 laps left, or this one and 2 more. So nonetheless, we're seeing Brucati, we're seeing Antonino Malquit lead this group. We see Max Christia, he fell back to that 5th place spot here in line, but hasn't been able to really make much of it on board the TKG Car Public. He's down in 7th right now, but that's saying a lot considering 2.5 tenths is first down to 7th. That's what we are expecting to see around this racetrack, especially in the KA junior category. Now we're down to only 4 personal bests here. Anbar now up to 4th, a 50.436, but the more your top 4 do this and decide to race, and they race further back, that's Malatesta down the inside of Max Christia. That's going to slow them down as well. So the more you do that, Caleb, the more that you ruin each other's lap times. Could be an offensive strategy. If you know that you have a good lap time, you can kind of ruin somebody else's lap. But if you're a driver who wants one more really good lap, you probably are pretty frustrated if somebody passes you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would definitely be. And again, these drivers proving us wrong and going faster outside of our predicted window here. So it seems like anything that we got of intel was obviously incorrect on our side of things, Alex. But these drivers, we'll see what they can do with just over a minute left in this qualifying session for your KA 100 juniors. They all cross the stripe. Any improvements? Not inside of the top 5 and not inside of the top 10 either. So nobody able to improve inside of the top 10. Your only 2 drivers that were able to improve later on were a couple outside, but a couple of drivers collected here. That's the 850 of what looks to be Emerson Lane there. That's off the racetrack.
Yeah.
He's going to be out. And
Keith Lewis.
One of the KRs, Keith Lewis, as well, out for the Vice Racing team. So those 2 drivers off the racetrack, and Emerson Lane, unfortunate for him, who's going to end off his qualifying session early and looks to be in some pain. So hopefully Emerson is feeling all right. But yellow flag in the air now. And, man, that's an early end to the session for a couple of these drivers who have to slow into that section. And this is going to be their last time around when they get them clear, just under 20 seconds to go. So the final time around for everybody else, Antonino wanting some help here from Malquit to try and improve his lap, and nobody was able to improve inside of the top 10. So I think we could just be out of that window, Alex.
Yeah, well, Antonino also made a mistake out of turn number 1 there. You see the incredible run that Malquit had with the help of Alexander Young as well. So I think these drivers are all going to get slowed up with each other. And like you mentioned, it's interesting to see that the last time we saw an improvement on lap time was lap number 7, and only 3 drivers were able to do that. So to me, if you can set your tire pressures properly and get a pretty good lap 3, 4, or 5, as Malquit thought about a dive down the inside of Antonino. It's actually going to cost him a spot here, but you see the shake of the head from the MPG driver of Antonino. They're frustrated with that one because he knows any chance of a good lap is now essentially ruined here. But if I'm these drivers, and I know that my lap is pretty much ruined, if maybe 1 or 2 to go here, as checkered flag's going to be waving here for the KA Junior Group B qualifying, I'd say you almost pit kind of early here. If you know that the window is lap 4, 5, or 6, not a whole lot of reason to drive laps 7, 8, and 9, even 10 laps if you're lucky. So we're going to see maybe some strategy as the qualifying sessions go on, but nonetheless, every driver completes all 10 laps besides Emerson Lane and Keith Lewis Jr. They only get 7 laps in the books. But for Group B, it's Luca Brucati, Malquit, Malatesta, Anbar, and Young right now, your top 5.
Then you go back just outside of your top 5, Antonino, Andredos, Max Christia, Samuel Newell, Indy Anderson, running up your top 10 here. And again, your KA Junior Group A getting set to go out now. If they're not already out onto the racetrack, and I think they may not be, so they aren't out onto the racetrack now. But your second set of drivers getting set to go out now with Enzo Vidamontien, Peyton Westcott, Nathan Golseth, and a lot more here in a couple of moments' time as we look on and get confirmation if they're running the pickup truck now or they're going to do it after the session. But we wait on here. And a couple of more drivers, the BJR MDR Len Karts there on the grid as well for the Sodi Racing USA team. But that's your unofficial results here in KA100 Junior as they're getting underway now. So they're going to do that here in a couple of moments' time. But your KA100 Juniors Group A are getting set to go out here in a couple of moments' time, Alex. And I know the likes of Vidamontien and a couple of others have been super strong this year. So if you had to pick a favorite, who would you pick going into this one?
It's tough. I think Vidamontien is a pretty good pick. I actually like Ty Fisher in this one. I think Fisher's been pretty quick all year long in the KA package. He's had some pretty solid qualifying performances. And the KA and the X30 machine for the Race Live TV crew seems strong this weekend. They've been working on it all year long. It's been pretty quick for Ty, and I think this is the year that this is the weekend that kind of maybe he puts it all together. So I think Ty Fisher's going to be a pretty good pick. But like you mentioned, you can't go wrong with Vidamontien. You can't go wrong with Alexander Vanchev as well in the Stody Kart machine. So there's a couple of good options here, but I think something to learn from if you're the Group A drivers watching Group B is, listen, you got to slot in line and figure out who you need to work with and get a good lap in early, because you don't want to end up lap 7 or 8 scrambling, with a lap time that you're not happy with, and then you're stuck fighting with that group for, track position heading into the final couple of laps. So it's really important lap 3, 4, and 5 to get that banker lap or even just that incredible lap that you were looking for all weekend long. And maybe you can pull in the pits early and not use up some of your stuff as we head into the heat races later today and then into tomorrow, obviously. So I think there's a lot to play for here, a lot of strategy that you can still use around this place. But the biggest thing to me, especially in the KA package, with how important that draft is getting that lap in early.
Yeah, getting in early is definitely going to be important. And again, we also talked about it, during the past couple of sessions, right? That window, that perfect window that the tire seems to kind of get into, it's not going overboard and doing more laps than you really need to use up your equipment just that little bit more. So again, that'll be something to look out for here whenever we go through for your KA100 Junior A group. But as pickup starts to conclude here, drivers back in their seats now, and we'll wait for them to go out onto the racetrack here. And again, you talked about a lot of drivers that have been super strong this weekend. Ty Fisher looking for his maiden national race victory here this weekend in the IAME Grand National competition, as well as a couple of others who have come close already. Amador Martinez has a win in his name already this year, but not on the racetrack. So he's going to look to get it done. Max Weiland as well, and a lot more. The list goes on and on and on, and we can story tell about all the drivers that are getting set to come out, because all of them have different stories and different backgrounds. So we'll see what these guys and girls can do here in a couple of moments' time. But they're getting set to release the grid as we look on, and it looks like Enzo Vidamontien going to lead us out onto the racetrack with Alexander Vanchev, if I'm not mistaken. So look out for those two drivers. And again, lap time to beat at the moment of 50.199, and that was for Luca Brancati in Group B. So we'll wait for Group A to try and set in a lap time here on.
Yeah, engines are fired, and they're heading out onto the racetrack now, led by the TB Kart crew of Ty Fisher and the likes of Travis Pettit as well. Then it's the two Sodi Kart drivers, Vanchev and Dupuis. Nathan Dupuy, a driver that we didn't mention, but he has been quick. I mean, ever since he hopped on the Sodi Kart machine, he's been fast. To me, his best weekend came at MCC for the Stars race, where unfortunately he spun in front of the field in second place in that pre-final race, but the pace was there, and since then, the confidence has been there for Nathan as well, which I think is something that you see whenever you talk to him. He seems confident in his abilities now to go out there and get his maiden national victory in the junior category. Further back, you see Martin Hamarillo as well on the U-Race machine. Peyton Westcott is running double duty in the KA and X30. She's been very quick on board that Rawson Performance Group Kart Republic. Forrest Adams, whenever we come to Trackhouse Motorplex, is a driver to watch on board the BJR MDR machine as well.
Yeah, so look out for Forrest Adams to be quick here this weekend, and we look to go underway here with your qualifying session for your KA Juniors. Group number A, Travis Pettit and Ty Fisher leading us out here on the racetrack. Both these drivers, a lot of podiums under their names as well for Travis Pettit, who I guess you could say is a rookie in this junior class this year. But again, he had a great showing last year at the IAME Grand National Championships with his teammate in Lucas Palacio. So look out for Travis Pettit to be quick this weekend as well. And a lot more. The list goes on and on and on. Chase Gassiet-Lee as well, sneaking his way into the fast group. Kai Mars, Nathan Golsath for the RPM team, and more. So they're going to set in the first couple lap times. And again, still trying to get that heat up into those tires and get the grip in there. So, and this is really almost, I think, a tire pressure. You know, picking the right tire pressure, see if you want something to kind of turn on early and then have it fall off later or have it come in the late stages of the qualifying session. It all depends on what the strategies are from the teams, from the mechanics, from the tuners. So lap times coming in now. Alexander Vanchev goes quickest, a 50.214. And again, he's going to need just another 10th. That's not going to help him out at all there as he goes over a curb. So for Vanchev, can't be doing that. Loses a little bit of time there to the TV karts, but he's quickest out of this group. And again, both groups are going to merge together, so you need to get yourself within a good shot for a good position later on today. So we'll see what these drivers can do here, as Pettit and Fisher are still working together quite nicely, Alex.
Yeah, well, these 4 drivers that are on our screen right now are doing exactly what they need to do, right? Get that banker lap, get a lap that you're happy with, and work together with your teammate. They're not out there like the other drivers fighting for track position with drivers that they're not really familiar with driving or comfortable with driving like they are with their teammate, with Fisher and Pettit, and we see down to Vanchev and Dupuy right now, and it's working out for them because their first, second, third, and fourth on our screen right now as Pettit goes to the top, not for long. A lot of shuffling here on lap number 3. Tristan Murphy, the Super Tune driver there, 49.988, the first time all day that anybody in the junior category has been down to the 49-second bracket, and it's Tristan Murphy ahead of Gassiet-Lee, Forrest Adams, Vidmontien, Westcott, Weiland, Yempin, and then it's Pettit and Fisher. So maybe the 2x2 is not the strategy to go with. Maybe you want to be with a larger group, like a group of 3 or 4, as right now Fisher and Pettit, they sit 8th and 9th, and then you have to look down to 11th and 16th for the Sodi Kart crew of Vanchev and Dupuy. Here's this next group, headed by one of the RPG drivers there. I believe it might have been Amador Martinez ahead of what looks to be, I believe that might have been Garcia, and then it's Vidmontien, and then it's Murphy behind them as well. This is actually a provisional pole sitter right now, and it shows you he's the 4th car in line on a 4-kart train. It's not even 4 anymore, Caleb. This is about a 7-kart train here, but this is not what you want to be a part of, right? I think now this is going to be that transition point to where if you start to race too much, you're actually going to lose lap time more than gain.
You see everybody kind of going side by side. Gassiet-Lee looking to make moves, as well as one of the RPG Cosmics. So everybody kind of fighting it out here in this qualifying session. You said it best, Alex. This is not what you want. This is not how you want to end your qualifying session. And if you're Enzo Vidmontien, you got to go here shortly. You got to make a move and try and go. And he, rightfully so, going to go with Tristan Murphy. Both of those drivers able to get through on that Sodi Racing USA machine. That's the 851 there, if I'm not mistaken, of one driver. So that's Shane Smith. My apologies there to Shane, but he's right ahead, or was right ahead of Enzo Vidmontien, and now falls back ahead of his teammate Naomi Garcia as they cross the line now. Maybe burner lap times for a lot of them. Your top 4 don't improve. Fisher goes quicker, a 50.057, and there's a big difference in between all these drivers, right? Everybody kind of going side by side, battling it out for position, but the 2 TB karts, they went out ahead and just pulled away from the rest of the field, got away from the carnage, got away from the mess, and may even put themselves in a position to get an extra lap here at the end of this qualifying session, Alex.
How crazy is this, though? The top 9, from Murphy down to Golsath, 900th of a second. I mean, there's different strategies all throughout the racetrack right now. Who knows which one's the right one? Right now, Murphy looks to be the smartest one. He went out in the middle of this entire group and got a pretty nice tow on lap number 3. But I think, like you mentioned with Fisher, and with Pettit. The last 3 laps have put their personal bests together. This time around, they didn't. It was the first time they didn't put a personal best together. But like you mentioned, the 2 Race Lab TV machines, if they can just put together one good lap, Ty Fisher needs 0.06 of a second of an improvement on his best lap time to go from 5th on the board up to pole position or provisional pole position. So this is not going to help you if you go side by side. This is Peyton Westcott now getting around the 808 machine of Forrest Adams behind him, Gassie Lee. So Adams sits 3rd, Westcott 6th, and then where's Gassie Lee right now? 2nd. So it's pretty tight all throughout the field. So far, the Sodi machine, I mean, they sit 9th and 12th right now at the moment for Dupuis and Vanchev, but they seem to have caught this TB Kart group here. So if they decide to work together, these 2 teams, maybe we can make this a 4-kart train as Fisher's going to let them by and go behind the likes of Alexander Vanchev. So Ty Fisher now, he knows there's about 3 laps left if he's lucky in this qualifying session. Barely, I think, Fisher's going to get 3 laps here. So if he can get up to the rear bumper of Vanchev, he might be able to get a decent tow here.
Yeah, that was a veteran move there by Ty Fisher to kind of get out of line, get back in line behind somebody different. He was leading his teammate away in Travis Pettit. Now he's going to do the same thing. Needs to be careful not to slow his teammate down now, but seems to be all right. But again, very mature there by Ty Fisher. Knows he's not improving his lap time, gets out of line, goes back in line to try something different, try to go behind Alexander Vanchev, to try to go behind Nathan Dupuis, get something to chase, and you see there Fisher kind of putting his hand up in the air, telling Pettit to kind of move along and build up a good enough gap, and you see Fisher going to back off now and look to close down that gap on his final lap. So he's probably going to get 2 more to go, if not just 1 more when he crosses a stripe. So a lot to play for here for Ty Fisher as checkered flag is getting set to come out. So this is make or break for a lot of these drivers, and they're going to have to start improving their lap times. Nobody able to improve as of yet. No personal best lap time. So again, we talked about the tire window. We've talked about it a lot. Nobody in this entire field in KA Junior Qualifying A has been able to improve at all. Again, they're a lot quicker than that first group that went out onto the racetrack. So this is looking better for about the first half of this group. The group further back are a little bit off to what that first group ran. And one driver into the pits, that looks to be the 899 there of Tristan Murphy, who's your provisional pole sitter. And we talked about this already this weekend, Alex. There's no need to burn up your tire. There's no need to be out there for this long and to try and find whatever ounce of pace that you can, because unfortunately it may not come in the end. And that was really, really mature by Tristan Murphy to bring it into the pits. But everybody else still going to give it one more go. The final time around, Ty Fisher setting in a burner this time around. What does he have left in store? He goes to the top. Ty Fisher of 49.846. We talked about the maturity. We talked about playing perfectly. And Ty Fisher did just that.
Yeah, I mean, he played the game, right? Because the only other personal bests we see are down an 18th and 20th for Kai Mars and Shane Smith. Nobody else inside the top 20, any personal best, and then it goes down to Ty Fisher of 49.846. The top 10 was separated by less than 1/10 of a second. Fisher just put 1.5 tenths between himself and Murphy for second place. So we talked about the maturity from Tristan Murphy. I still think it was the right move there. He's going to have 3-lap newer tires compared to everybody else out there on the racetrack right now. And I'm sure even if they finish as they stand, he'll take a P2 right now with newer tires than everybody else. But for Ty Fisher, he played the strategy game perfectly, and he knows it. He probably saw the micron and said, you know what, I'm not going to go quicker than that. Let me at least save 1 lap of tires compared to everybody else. A couple drivers going to cross the stripe here. Dupuis, Pettit, no improvements. Hamarillo, no improvements. Westcott, Adams, not going to happen. Down to Weiland here. We see Golseth cross the stripe as well. Kai Mars, no improvements besides for Hamarillo and Kai Mars in 15th and 17th. And it looks to be, unless there's a couple more drivers here getting ready to cross the stripe, Ty Fisher and Race Lab TB. Top of the board, P1 for Ty Fisher. Murphy second, Gassie Lee, Forrest Adams, Enzo Vidmontien. Down there, a little under 2/10 separates your top 5. Then it's Westcott, Weiland, Pettit, Dupuis, Nate Golseth, your top 10.
That was a great qualifying session for that Race Lab TB Kart team. And you see Ty Fisher there into the scale lines now, and he had a great qualifying session. He played it out picture perfect for Ty Fisher, who's your pole sitter here in KA100 Junior. When he gets set to go green for his heat race action later on today, weighs in just about at 324. So right on weight there for Ty Fisher, who's your pole sitter unofficially in KA100 Junior racing action. But with all that being said, it's time for some senior action here with as they get set to go out and qualify. That's the rest of your results, and you slide back to the last 5 qualifiers of Edgar Rodriguez, Kai Mars, Naomi Garcia, Jackson Gibson, and Shane Smith. 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th, respectively, there for those drivers. So we look back on to the grid here in a couple of moments' time as they get set to go green. Engines are fired. Your KA100 seniors rolling out now.
Yeah, KA100 Senior. This is going to be Group B, heading out onto the racetrack, led by Nick Eggleston, James Overbeck here in this group as well, Drew James, Finn Bailiff, Emery Lida, home track for him, Seamus McKinstry, Eli Warren, Colin Lloyd, Raheem Alibi, Chris Harrower, Azier Torres Jr., Lucas Zabel, Grayson Thorpe, Autumn Fisher, Max Sega, Ben Gaunt, and Jordan Hernandez. 17 drivers are in this Group B, 36 total in the KA100 Senior package. So some strong names here in Group B here, Caleb.
Yeah, very, very strong contingency here in this field for the rest of your K100 Senior class. And again, your KA100 Senior Group A is coming out next with a couple of more drivers, but a couple of drivers, kind of surprising to find them in this Group B for the likes of the drivers on your screen. I mean, Finnegan Bailiff contended for a national SCUSA Pro Tour Championship earlier on this year against the driver right ahead of him, and James Overbeck, who, in his own words, he said, look pro, go slow, and he said that was kind of this story to his start yesterday on the Thursday night. So Overbeck's still looking for a little bit of more pace, but he's looking to make moves now in turn number 4. He's able to get clear on Nick Eggleston, if I'm not mistaken there, was the driver he passed. So everybody else looking to get in tow, and the two Trinity karting group, Kart Republic, so Finnegan Bailiff, Drew James looking to work together. James, he's been able to put on a couple of one-offs so far this year, and this is one of the ones that he wanted to put together with the Sean Bailiff crew and get onto the racetrack at his home track here at Trackhouse Motorplex, only living 10 minutes away from the racetrack here, and looking to go at it with his teammate here in Finnegan Bailiff. Everybody else getting stacked and packed. Emery Lida, our very own co-host in this group as well. And right behind them, Seamus McKinstry as well. But some moves already. Finnegan Bailiff goes to the top of 49.896 to start off the day. Lida in second, Harrower third, McKinstry fourth. James rounds up your top 5. So this is pretty much it. And again, you would expect a little bit of a more spaced out qualifying session for your senior drivers, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk with Emery, you and I both this morning, and for a driver that has as many laps as he does around this place, he pretty much told us, listen, the strategy in qualifying is, find somebody to work with and get that lap in early. That's kind of what we saw Fisher do, right? We saw him get his laps in early, and then at the end, he backed off and got a pretty good tow in the KA Junior qualifying a couple minutes ago to put it on pole. So we're watching Emery do it now. He's letting, I believe that was Seamus McKinstry by now, and he wants to get a tow off of McKinstry. So let's see if the 941 machine, new colors for him this weekend, usually under Hotes DD, this weekend under RPM there, as Finn Bailiff now goes to the top of the field here to get around Overbeck. It's Finn Bailiff, Lida now P2, and then Harrower third so far, 49.896 the lap to beat. I expect these lap times to be in the mid-49s here for the KA Senior group here, so we see a bit of a mistake there from Eggleston. It's going to slow up McKinstry and Lida here in this lap, but it's tough to tell what that tire window is. I think it depends a lot on a couple of things, right? On how much the grip is getting laid down here, Caleb, and also your tire pressures, right? Because we see a lot of the junior drivers in the qualifying earlier set their best lap times, lap 4, 5, and 6, and then we saw Fisher do it on lap 9, right? So I think as long as you can, put your lap in, get a banker, and then maybe go for a second round later on in the session, that's going to be the way to do it. Right now, we're seeing Emery Lida getting shuffled around a little bit in this qualifying session as the top 3 begin to pull away with Finn Bailiff, Overbeck, and James. Lida gets around Eggleston now, so let's see if he can now work with Seamus McKinstry, maybe get back up to that top 3 group and make it a 5 or a 6 kart train. Seemingly the fastest way around this place. Finn Bailiff now, mature stuff. Let's buy Drew James and Overbeck. So this is mature stuff from Finn. If you're Overbeck, you probably don't want to be passed in that situation because you got to some clean air in front of you. But if anything that we've learned with the KA package over the years, it's 2 and 3 drivers are faster than 1.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if these drivers want to get into the CNC Performance Engineering Shootout later on tonight for a chance to win $4,000, they need to be on it from this qualifying session. And for now, some of these drivers seem to be struggling. The likes of James Overbeck, who came into the weekend as a fan favorite, for Finnegan Bailiff as well. And for a lot of others who want to get into a chance to win that money, this is not how you want to start off your weekend, kind of fighting it out here in the qualifying sessions, and nobody's able to improve. Bailiff not improving either after having to burn that lap, but nobody in the field improving already on lap number 5, and all that fighting, you got to wonder how worth it was all that fighting, because you're kind of burning laps here, Alex.
Yeah, but I think finally that second group seems to have settled down here. I think Emery Lida is in a pretty good position. If he can just find a little bit more pace on board that RPM OTK machine, he could be on the bumper of that group in front of him, Drew James, Overbeck, and Bailiff, and he's already there. There's Eli Warren as well. The War Power machine is pretty quick right now. Sits P6, 600th separates himself and provisional pole right now in Finn Bailiff, but this has been a pretty good lap here for Emery Lida here as they go around turn 10, 11, and 12. 2.5 minutes, a little over 2.5 minutes to go in this qualifying session. Still at least 4 or 5 laps to go. Crossing the stripe here, no improvements. Nick Eggleston, the only guy who put a personal best in. He sits 9th at the moment. He's the driver behind Emery Lida. Finn Bailiff starting to drop the top 2, but right as we say that, Drew James notices that, and I think he wants to assist his teammate here. Mature stuff from Drew as well. So now Overbeck has been released, but with no one in front of him, we tend to see this in this KA Senior Qualifying, no matter what racetrack we go to, where whenever somebody leads a group, they don't really want to be the leader, and they tend to back off. So I think we're going to start seeing some strategy come into play here, because if you're James Overbeck, you're looking down there. You don't really know you're 11th right now, but I'm sure Brandon Jarvis cracks on the fence line right now, letting him know, listen, we need to get a better lap time than where we are right now.
Yeah, definitely going to need a lot more here as we get to the 2-minute mark here, and Emery Lida going to get a really good tow on the rear end of Finnegan Bailiff, so we'll see if anybody can improve. James moving out of the way there for Bailiff. He doesn't improve. Lida doesn't improve either. Nobody improving except for Colin Lloyd, who was able to go quicker. He goes up to the 7th spot. Nick Eggleston up to 8th. There's Overbeck already looking to move out of the way. Bailiff going to set in another burner, see what he can do, and Lida now going to be in prime position to get a tow. Raheem Alibi was able to improve in the 10th spot, a 50.155 for Alibi. Eggleston a 50.053 there. So we'll see what they have left in store. They need to really take whatever ounce of pace they have left. Eli Warren looking to make a move. Don't think that's going to help him out too much. So it all continues to go off here. But when they cross the stripe this time around, they're going to have just 2 laps to go left in this qualifying session. And there's Bailiff coming into the pits early, can't improve, and he's sitting at a pretty good position. His second lap of 49.896. Lida across the line now, doesn't improve again. So like we said, Alex, you got to see down on the micron, see that you're not improving, and really just kind of bite your tongue and bring it in. As Overbeck going to have a good tow in turn number 4. They're just switching it all around. I tow you, you tow me, and then I get out of the way, let you do your lap. So respectful qualifying racing, but again, it's just tough at this point.
I'm sure Overbeck can't believe his luck right now. He keeps letting 4 or 5 drivers by, and somehow ends up at the front of the field every other lap. So he's got to be pretty frustrated underneath that helmet right now, because he's sitting P11, and for a driver that's won the last couple of KA Senior National events.
He's a Pro Tour champion as well this year, man.
He sits 11th in Group B right now, so he knows when it cycles through for Group A as well, he's not going to be in a pretty decent spot to even qualify for that shootout later on today here, Caleb, like you mentioned. So he needs to put his head down, and if he can't find a drafting partner, at least put a personal best that he can do. But it's so tough around this place when nobody's in front of you to get a tow off of. Right now, he pretty much is the rabbit for everybody else to chase. He's gonna pull off again, but I think it's a little too late right now, because with 2 seconds on the board, this next lap, this is the checker lap here, Caleb. So I think Overbeck is going to be out of luck here in KA 100 Senior. So he's going to back him up here. Eli Warren's not going to get a pretty good lap here. Eggleston's going to get backed up as well. It might give a decent tow to Drew James, McKendry, and Lida, but I think everybody else is going to be out of luck here in this qualifying session. Smart stuff. You mentioned it with Finn Bailiff, right? He pits. He has 3-lap fresher tires than everybody else, and right now he is your provisional pole sitter. I believe Group A is probably going to improve on their lap times if they can, sort things out. Most of the drivers in the front group pit. Eli Warren wants this last lap here to be good. It's not good enough. The rest of the field crosses the stripe. No personal bests. You look at the best lap times here, Caleb. Lap 2 for Finn Bailiff. Lap 2, Emery Lida. Lap 2, Chris Hayward.
Lap 2 for everybody inside of your top 5 here. And then Eli Warren goes back lap 2. Lap 7 for Colin Lloyd. Lap 7 for Nick Eggleston. Lap 3 for Lucas Zabo. I mean, Alex, very good point here. It's just there's a prime range for all these tires, and unfortunately for some of them, they're just out of it.
Yeah, well, I think part of it as well, we saw so much racing because nobody wanted to be the leader of the group and, take one for the team for the one lap. So every time somebody led the group, they said, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'm going to back out. And that's why I mentioned with Overbeck, he probably couldn't believe it, because every time he went to 4th in line, he was first by the start of the next lap. So nonetheless, Finn Bailiff right now, provisional pole sitter, 49.896. That's the lap that these drivers on our screen have to chase. That's Caleb Gaffera, Chad Dawkins Racing Kart Public driver. He's got the beautiful Circle K red suit there with the American flag on the helmet. Neon yellow with the molecule sign as well on the visor. Alongside him, a couple of stars in the KA senior class, one of them being Mossman. We saw Peyton Phillips there as well. We see Adam Brickley and a bunch of other drivers. So Kai Hunter there, Hayden Jones, the Ralston Performance Group Cosmics here for KA 100 Senior. This is Group A. We saw Group B have some heavy hitters. This entire group has drivers that potentially could be on the pole if they get their lap times correct. We see Dalton Haynes wave by the group as, look at this. This is almost like what we can expect over if we go to Monza over there in Europe with how much we are slowing on the back straightaway. Nobody wants to be the leader of the group. And I think the only issue is when everybody has the same strategy, it actually causes more chaos than if you were Dalton Haynes who decided, you know what, I'm just going to go out there and get my lap time done.
Yeah, and they get a move on now, but that's going through the grass. That's not how you want to start off your qualifying session here. And everybody you see still warming up their tires. These are all the guys that we're expecting to be front runners. And you see all the way in the end, A.J. Myers, I believe one of the oldest, if not the oldest driver in this class here this weekend, is going to be at the tail end of the group. And that's probably exactly where A.J. wants to be, as he's going to be the last one on the racetrack there. You have to cycle through everybody in the field and then get to the veteran here, one of the most decorated U.S. American karting drivers here at the back of the pack, and we'll see what this guy, the Magic Man, can do, and we'll see if you know he's got the magic in him. How does that song go? I got the magic in me. So that's what it's like for AJ Myers. I'm not a good singer, but so we'll see how it goes. But Dalton Haynes leading us away now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? Because we have Dalton Haynes, who's a very experienced driver on this racetrack, and at this point a veteran in the X30 Pro category and the K Senior package as well. A.J. Myers, experienced in his own right in every engine package. Dalton Haynes is the leader of this group. A.J. Myers is the last one to cross the stripe, and now Dalton Haynes decides, you know what, I got my tires at the temperature. Let me let the likes of, I believe that is Jared Clark, go by, and then a couple other drivers, Levy, go by, Brickley, Massimino, and then we see Dalton Haynes slot in line behind Buscalia, and then that's the 905 machine of Hamill as well. So Haynes now is about 7th in line here, but he's going to be in a pretty decent shot at a toe. Behind him, Kai Hunter, another driver who I think is in a pretty decent position there. He's got about a 5 car length advantage between himself and Dalton Haynes. If there's one driver you want to tow yourself around, it's Dalton Haynes. So I think we're seeing the experienced drivers get the better of them all right now, because you don't want to be in this group. I think Massimino right now, at least you have Levy and Brickley in front of you, so it's a couple of good drivers around this place who know what it takes to put yourself in a decent qualifying position. So I think it's going to be a little bit more mature single file driving than what we saw in previous groups. But as we cross the stripe to see the first real time lap here, and it's a 49.684 for Andrew Hamill right now, tops the board. Hayden Jones, Massimino, Weinberg, Brickley so far, and then Stephen Miller now 49.548. Just to keep in mind here, the best lap from Group B was Finn Bailiff at a 49.8.
Yeah, 49.8 there for Stephen Miller, and it changes there. Further back, a 49.5 for Stephen Miller to close to start this one off in lap number 3. And again, for these drivers, 13 drivers will qualify to the CNC Performance Engineering Shootout for a chance to win $4,000. And you can choose again. There's going to be a fan vote later on today, if I'm not mistaken, and you can vote your favorite driver and maybe get the likes of James Overbeck with some help to get into that shootout, or anybody else who finds themselves on the outside looking into the shootout. Vote for them on our social media page and look to get them into the shootout as well. So this is the cool thing about an event. You can be off, but if you did enough on social media, you did enough on our interviews, and the people love you, you can get into it one way or another. So we look back onto the racetrack, and the two Chad Dawkins racing machines were quickest for a second, but fast Frankie Mossman back to the top by 0.02 of a second, a 49.506 for Mossman.
Yeah, I believe Mossman's in that group right behind the two Chad Dawkins racing drivers. I think that group is led by potentially Aiden Levy here, but how about this for CDR and Kart Republic? Stephen Miller back on that package, and there's Peyton Phillips, there's Leica Parker DeLong, and then there's Frankie Mossman. To me, that's the best position to be in around this racetrack. Third in line with a group that is willing to work together, and if you can, have kind of an unwritten agreement, and maybe the driver in first continues every other lap to slot in line to that third place spot, everyone gets a turn to lead, everyone gets a turn to be second, everyone gets a turn to be third. And I think that's what we're seeing right now with this group. But Mossman, a bit of a mistake in turn number 8 and 9, losing ground to Phillips and DeLong. It's going to be a decent lap for the RPM crew there, and it's decent for DeLong up to 6th. For Peyton Phillips, he's down there, I believe, in 17th. So not where you want to be right now if you're Phillips, but just to give you an idea of how close it is, Phillips is 17th, only 2.5 tenths back from the lead.
Yeah, Phillips isn't too far off, and he set his personal best lap time that time around. Sadly, not going to be enough to really contend with Frankie Mossman here. And again, that only puts him 17th, and that slots him ahead of Finnegan Bailiff, who went quickest in the B group. So, for that entire B group, they definitely missed on the 8 ball there, Alex, because all these guys are lapping about almost half a second quicker than they did, about 3 tenths quicker to be exact. Than your B group did. So they continue to go around here. Mossman right behind one of the drivers there, and We'll see what it looks like when they cross the stripe. Now DeLong leading us away. Looks back, wants a push there from Mossman. Mossman doesn't improve on lap number 6. So again, got to think about the window. Myers is currently P4, a 49.571. He set his PB on lap number 5. Again, he has one less lap than the rest of the field. Caleb G, Stephen Miller, still working together here for the Chad Dockin Racing Kart Republic team, and they're not improving much either. The only improvements there were Kai Hunter as well on his 6th lap, a 49.624 for the Brit, who his prime position was on lap number
AJ's
6.
in.
And we look on into the scales. AJ Myers into the pits. That's going to be it for him here. As we look on to our mobile camera, AJ Myers into the pits here. He's looking set to weigh in now, but early into his qualifying session, and if he feels like that's all he needed, that's going to be it there for AJ. A couple of other drivers diving into the pit lane now, and nobody able to improve either. AJ personal best on lap 5, not improving, and for anybody else as well, I don't think they're going to improve much here.
A lot of drivers in. Yeah, a lot of drivers trying to enter the pit lane here. So at first I wondered if that was a little too early for AJ, but I think, if you're AJ, right, lap 5 is the earliest that I've seen anybody pit in a qualifying session before, but a 49.571 puts him 4th overall. It's a pretty decent position to be in, and if you're AJ, he must feel like he'd rather have some fresh rubber compared to everybody else. Here's a good look at Dalton Haynes getting a decent push from Jared Clark. Where does Dalton Haynes sit right now about the SLA TV kart machine? 10th. So top 10 so far for Dalton Haynes. He probably wants to be a little bit further up the board, but only 1.5 tenths back from provisional pole. There's Frankie Mossman, talking with a couple of the drivers there. His best that he can do was P1. So I think he looked at his micro and said, you know what, 49.506, if somebody beats me, so be it, right? But nonetheless, I think he feels like the worst he's probably going to do is a top 3. So provisional pole for Frankie Mossman there. Gafara, Stephen Miller still out there on the racetrack for those drivers, but we see the drivers who are sitting, maybe 5th on back feel like they still want a couple more laps, but for most of the top 5, they've pit. For these drivers, right, for drivers who are local to this racetrack, maybe aren't as quick as they would like to be. For Brickley, for Haynes, for Jared Clark, they sit 10th. Brickley sits 14th. Clark sits 20th. They're going to finish out this qualifying session because they want as many laps as possible here. 15 seconds left in this session, so this is one more lap around here for Haynes. Looking at Brickley, he wants a bit of help here.
Yeah, definitely going to want some help here in this qualifying session. Unfortunately for Haynes, not going to get it. Jarrett Clark right behind him, and they continue to push each other along. But, yeah, for all these drivers who really wanted to get some help, definitely just didn't get it at this stage of the race, and they're going to have to continue on forward. Checkered flag is out in the air this time when they go around. Haynes not improving. He currently sits on the edge of the top 10 and 10th, a 49.673. And it's showing a penalty here for Dalton Haynes, impeding 916 in turn 8, loss of the fastest lap. So that being said, that's going to put him back to his 2nd fastest lap, which was his fastest was a 49.6. So loss of the fastest lap going to put him back to about a 49.8, and that's going to shuffle him way down the order now. He's going to be just about sitting about in the 19th or 20th starting position here for Dalton Haynes for impeding. And as well, another penalty for Jared Clark, impeding the 905 in turn 2. Loss of the fastest lap as well there for Jared Clark with penalties here in this one. But your K100 Senior Qualifying A unofficial results. Frankie Mossman, your quickest driver. Caleb Gafera, 2nd.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of movement, especially on the front end of that session, Caleb. So the impeding penalties flying. I'm sure the protest room is going to be busy with everything that we just watched transpire. But Mossman by just under 300ths over hometown kid Caleb Gafera. And the CDR Kart Republic teammates go 2nd and 3rd. AJ Myers, we saw, again, he was the first one to bail out early, Caleb. Head to pit lane. That's something that I think a couple of the earlier sessions, like watching along with the micro drivers, they could have done because we've got a lot of time to run laps in these sessions. I don't know if you really need to take advantage of all the time there is to run in the session. 8 minutes for qualifying, and well, there's a big swarm of mini Swift drivers leaving the pit lane now. One of the larger classes, just shy of 30 in total as they begin. And I think there's probably going to be a handful that decided to not run out with the main group. It looks like the majority want to run with a pack here as Mini gets underway.
As well, welcome to the booth, Xander. I know it's been a busy morning, busy weekend for you to say the least, but I know people in the comments excited to have you back. I saw Let's Go Xander there around, so good to have you back. I know it's been busy, and we're glad to be back here. This is exactly where you started streaming here for Kart Chasers, so What's it like being back here at the IAME Grand Nationals for the 4th edition this time around?
It's definitely cool. It's a cool experience to be able to come back and continue to try and up our game a little bit each year, and we've always got a few new tricks up our sleeve. You mentioned earlier, Caleb, as the KA seniors roll through the scale line, most of them know that it was already going to be happening once again. It is now official and up on our Facebook page. It'll be shared to the IAME Facebook page as well, that you can vote your favorite KA 100 senior driver to join the grid in the CNCPE KA 100 shootout and a chance at $4,000 to win tonight. There are 10 drivers that will automatically qualify off of the Heat 1 points and qualifying points. Again, qualifying just concluded for that class provisionally, so that's where those penalties are really going to matter. I think for some of them, they're not going to worry when you got 3 heats and then a main, and then, 3 heats, a super heat, and then a main to set your grid spot. That's fine. You can have a penalty like Dalton Haynes losing the best lap going back a couple spots. The worry is whether or not you get the invite to tonight's shootout. And you can guarantee that your favorite driver of the 38 KA seniors gets in, no matter how they fare in the Heat 1 race and how they ended up in qualifying after the dust settles. By voting for them, you get 1 vote, 1 driver to pick in the comments of our Facebook post. Go to YouTube or Facebook.com/KartChaserOfficial. You'll find it top and front and center on the page. Now, we saw impeding penalties in KA. We're seeing a lot more movement once again here in Mini Swift. You just saw Ashton Woon bail out to the inside, a few more as well. That's allowed it to be kind of an unpredictable top half. Cade Wolf, quickest, a 5.5-minute gap to go, while we keep our eye on everyone playing the game here and trying to get a toe in qualifying. Let's go down to one driver, did a great job in KA Senior. He's standing by with Alex.
Thank you, Xander. Frankie at P1 there in qualifying. It was kind of a last-minute decision to even be replacing Austin Garrison for this weekend. I mean, was that kind of the strategy all along? Put a decent line there and pull into the pits?
Yeah. And early on and found the right positioning and kind of did, kind of not, and it just really came to us, and we've had a good package all week. You know, right once we got on track, even though I've been out of the kart for a very long time, just the power's been great from A to Z, and the kart's been spectacular. So I'm really happy for all the team because they deserve this, and I feel like I deserve this, and I'm just willing to put it up front. I need to do it right now.
Yeah, you haven't been at the kart track too often this year, but pretty much the storyline that we've heard from a lot of drivers is how grippy each racetrack is that we go to. Getting stuck to this surface right now, and we're in the pit lane. What can you tell us about the track right now?
100%. My KA karts definitely had a lot of grip. I think the X30, that's been the thing that we've been battling, is a lot of rear. But, you know, I'm almost no brake, mostly anywhere. So I'm going into the bull corner almost flat out. And when you have the right kart here and the grip's there, I feel like you can do the most with it. And it's really fun, and I'm glad that I was able to make this event, and it means a lot for my family and my sponsors to support me.
Yeah, I mean, P1 and KA Senior are shifting focus now to X30 Pro. It's the one package where you seemingly are struggling a little bit for pace, but nonetheless, what do you think you need heading to qualifying?
You know, I feel like we've had the pace. The power is great. I mean, we were P4 this morning and then P1 yesterday, and so the biggest thing is the physicality for me. The last X30 race I drove was Vegas last year, and so I think once we get the kart a little bit better, and I feel like we're going to come into qualifying and have a shot for the top spot.
I think it's so funny you mentioned physicality, right? We're talking to Simon about it. He almost laughed when you said it earlier. It's like you run the USF Pro class, man. But nonetheless, karting is pretty physical, you'd say, huh?
Oh, 100%. I mean, after the first session yesterday, I was still catching my breath running to the next session. So I'm really just getting better and better. I think knocking off the rust each time. So I feel like once we come to the shootout tonight, I don't think anybody's going to touch us.
Thank you, Frankie.
Yep, thank you.
There you have it from fast Frankie Mossman. Thanks to Alex here for heading down to the pit lane and getting all that intel for us. Our fastest qualifier from Group A with a lot more shuffling that will continue to go to the officiating room, I believe, with potential protests. But for now, we know at least fast Frankie Mossman on his return to Speed Concepts Racing, hot off a solid performance. His first USF Pro 2000 win at Portland International Raceway last weekend. And he looks like he could very well be a factor here this weekend. 2.5 minutes plus maybe a half lap or so in Mini Swift qualifying to bring us to the end. Here's a look down the chains towards the Team Benick entry of Royce Vega. He's leading Marco Samet and company. Nicholas Mose there on the black and orange CRG. Josh Bergman on the white and orange Kart Republic. Cade Wolf still remains on top, though. In fact, it's a Timmy Tech Comp Kart 1-2. Vega at the front of this pack was able to put a lap in that's put him third overall, just ahead of Callan Berghofer. But Cade Wolf and Holden Myers right now, fastest two karts. They are set up to potentially lock the front row out, and they have been unstoppable in North Carolina in 2024. It's been fun to watch all of them. Cade Wolf, Holden Myers, the entire Timmy Tech crew. They've got Carter McMurray, of course, coming up later on in X30 Pro with just this mini swift class, and then X30 Junior standing in the way before they'll head on to the racetrack. So minute 40 to go in mini qualifying. Further back, what a performance as well from Callan Berghofer on that blue and red energy. He's in that white suit with the black helmet and blue visor, about 6th in the train. He was 4th. He'll get bumped back to 5th as Nico Katowski gets a big lap there at the line. He'll jump all the way up to 2nd on the J&M Racing Sodi, and he's actually right at the back of the pack there. So that was a big flyer, a big toe lap from Nico, and well, the pack is now up to about 9 drivers strong. Marco Samet leading, Nicholas Mose, Royce Vega, Josh Bergman with a minute 10 to go. And well, when we talk about pack racing, trying to time the draft, trying to get yourself in a good position in qualifying, Jerry Vandry Jr. joining me in the booth. And Jerry, a lot of the last couple of years of you behind the wheel has been in the lower horsepower draft-dependent categories like KA100 and Briggs 206 action. You've obviously been behind the cams as well for our broadcast. So explain a little bit to the viewers what you're trying to do when you're seeing a pack like this of fast drivers nearby in qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, Xander, before you roll up on the grid for a session, especially like qualifying, you need to know who's quick. You need to know who's got the pace. You can't be going out behind someone, that's maybe midfield or, someone that's going to hold you up going into a braking zone. You got to know, before you get to the grid, what the game plan is, where you're going to go out, and, you just got to get in behind someone and set the time.
With more changes on that back straightaway, I think a couple of drivers maybe misjudged the amount of time they had remaining in the session. You saw Marco Samet bail to the back of this group. Well, they're going to run out of seconds on the clock. 5 seconds to go. Vega leads. He's going to get passed by Ashton Moon in turn 9. I think there's so much 2x2 action. I don't think anyone is going to go any better on this last lap. You can even see Josh Bergman there on that bright yellow helmet shaking his head. Holden Myers and Cade Wolf in the middle of this group are going to end up 1st and 3rd if nothing else changes. The run to the line, we'll see them all slow down on the last lap. And what a performance. Cade Wolf will take the pole at home here for Team Timmy Tech in Comp Kart. Nico Katowski, 22 thousandths back, and we are less than a 1/10 of a second down to 8th with 94 thousandths off the pole, marking Marco Samet on the outside of row number 4. That is the closest qualifying session we've had so far today, Jerry.
Yeah, it's definitely been a barn burner here, Xander. P9, Nicholas Mose, Josh Bergman down in P10, Cameron Johnson on the FMS kart down in P11, Ashton Moon in P12, Maxwell Macha P13, Isaac Payne P14, and Simon Klein rounding out your top 15 on the SLA Racing kart.
I want to say a huge congratulations definitely goes out to Callan Berghofer and Kaysen Hodge, 2 younger drivers here that are making some serious strides in the Mini Swift division. 5th and 6th, I believe, to my knowledge, probably one of the better qualifying efforts for the pair of them. Berghofer with a bit of experience here. He's been putting in the laps at Trackhouse Motorplex. Kaysen Hodge coming from way out west to compete here at the IAME USA Grand Nationals. And again, as well for Nico Katowski, P2, that might be his best qualifying effort on the year. But we switch now up one category to the X30 Junior division. Well, we're lined right on one driver that has a lot of experience at the front of these fields here, and that is Enzo Vidmontien, Jerry.
Yeah, Xander, we talk a little bit about how Enzo has, been in the junior ranks for a couple of years now, and, he's able to always get the upper hand on the drivers around him, just by playing that game and, just being that tick smarter than the drivers out in the junior ranks.
From the outside, some of his race wins, it looks like the mountain or the pack would explode right behind him, right at the perfect point. But Enzo was playing that, and if you didn't read close enough into it, you wouldn't realize how smart some of that racecraft was. But he's now got another driver joining him that we haven't seen much of in 2024, and we're ecstatic to see back here during the summer stretch. Lucas Palacio pulled off the triple in 2023, the Stars Championship Series, the U.S. Pro Kart Series, the SCUSA Pro Tour champion now in his junior ranks. his X30 Junior American debut. Getting ready for more American action here. He's been behind the wheel of a Legends car at the Summer Shootout. One of the youngest drivers on the grid there, one of the youngest on the grid now for X30 Junior. Talk about a contrast of experience. You've got Enzo Vidmontien on what is the banner year for him in Junior. Lucas Palacio, his first year and really only his first couple of races. I'm not sure how many weekends he's even spent behind the wheel of a full-size go-kart because he's been spending most of his time in Europe running for the Kart Republic factory team in the mini class. So that's a big range of experience there on the TKG Kart Republic group.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely someone you got to keep an eye on. You know, you've seen Palacio go through the Micro Swift ranks, the Mini Swift ranks, and, you know, he's always been up at the front on that Trinity kart. And, you know, I'm excited to watch him this weekend, Xander. He's definitely one of the top prospects in the junior ranks now.
Well, you talk about first-timers. We've just showed Ty Fisher looking for his first-time win with Lucas Palacio's first X30 Junior start. Chase Gassiet-Lee got his first major U.S. national win on that Coastal Link custom printing EOS kart a couple of months ago at Newcastle Motorsports Park for the Stars Championship Series. He's ready for action, and the Miami, Florida native on the 713 will be another one of the contenders that we expect to see fighting at the front of this X30 Junior field. This one, a few less drivers, but than the KA Junior class. It has the majority of the same all-stars and front-runners, so you'll see a lot of familiar faces that you already watched take to the racetrack earlier in the day. And the benefit, of course, on a track like, you know, on any racetrack that is dynamic at all, which is, I guess I should say all racetracks, Jerry, getting double the seat time or being on the track a little more consistently throughout the day has helped. But, well, you got to get onto it first. Ty Fisher right now on the Race Lab TV is struggling to get that engine fired up, folks.
Yeah, laid out on the grid. They're trying to get the external remote starter, you know, onto that engine to get him rolling off the grid. And yeah, Ty's trying to choke the airbox a little bit there to try to, you know, get some more fuel, you know, through the carburetor. But yeah, struggles for the TB car driver, Ty Fisher here, Xander.
Well, the cool part about this is you're seeing the flurry of mechanics around, all trying to help out the 738. The good news is that he's got 8 minutes on the clock for qualifying. That's a lot of time to hopefully get this sorted and eventually get him onto the racetrack. The downside is if it's something else mechanical that needs some tools to fix, the only tool you're allowed on the grid is an air pressure gauge to lower your tire pressure. Beyond that, if they aren't able to get this engine fired up, Ty Fisher's going to be rolling from the tail end of the field for 3 consecutive heat races. Better to do it in the X30 Junior class. It's just shy of 20 than the KA Junior class that comes in right at 40 total drivers. But still, either way is not a ton of fun, and I could speak to that just from a couple of days ago, Jerry. This is a worst-case scenario for sure when you're lining on the grid. At least make a lap and get to know what the track's doing, because we're running into the late afternoon now. We're going to go out and do our heat races right at sunset hour. This is a disaster for the Race Lab TV of Ty Fisher, and it looks like, I think now, they're just going to pull the plug, because ultimately they've tried 2 different external starters. They were messing, you saw on the left side, by the battery and checking out all the wiring harness. But ultimately, nothing going to happen for Ty Fisher, and he will not get a single lap turned. However, Lucas Palacio up into second. Well, bump that down to third. Nate Golset, Chase Gassiet-Lee jumping up to the top of the boards here as we get rolling in X30 Junior Qualifying.
Yeah, Chase and Nate came across the line last time, 48.639. You know, you can definitely bet that they were probably pushing each other on that fast lap. Not too sure where they are on track right now, as we're currently watching Enzo Vidmontien and Lucas Palacio leading the grid here in X30 Junior Qualifying. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see here what Palacio does. He's obviously been across the country, racing many different types of drivers across the world. And, you know, he's definitely learned a lot, you know, even though he's already been at the front. You know, he's been learning a lot. You know, we talk about drivers that go overseas. We talk about Connor Zilic when he went overseas, and, you know, how he came back and was so dominant. And, yeah, I'm really excited to see what Palacio does here in this qualifying session.
Yeah, you kind of get a snapshot, you know, kids in general. We have to remember Lucas Palacio, Enzo Vidmontien, these are middle schoolers going just into maybe freshman year of high school at the oldest. So their progression is week by week, sometimes a massive jump forward. When we don't see a driver for maybe 6 months, but they've been racing elsewhere where they look like a completely different race car driver when we get them again. Right now, Lucas Palacio, again, you can see he's a whole helmet shorter than Enzo Vidmontien, but he's hanging right with him, following Enzo around, learning the limits of the tire on qualifying with a rubbered up racetrack. They are a bit down on the pace, but that's just because the field is so unbelievably close right now. 2/10 for basically all the way back to the end of the top 10. Now let's see if it changes at all. Vanchev on the Sodi there, run up to second. Fianchi back on the 786 RPG Cosmic, just went to the top. He's on that green and white Tony Kart suit and the yellow and black helmet right in the middle of this group. He's got Nate Golseth right behind him. Nate is third. They're all kind of towing off of Amador Martinez, and Amador is down at 11, being the leader of this group, but they're all catching up to that pack in front. I think they might have swapped around, and it looks like they have. Palacio dropping back. She going to go by on Martinez, or with Martinez. Golseth trying to go as well, and Davin Roberts also looking to join in. But we're just halfway in. Can't get too far ahead of ourselves. To give us another perspective of what we should be keeping an eye on when it comes to qualifying. Well, let's go down to one X30 Pro driver who has been so fast here, and last year he came back after an 8-month hiatus and was in the top 5 fighting for the win. This year, he's a full year off of the seat. It was this event 1 full year ago that Justin Atakonis was back behind the wheel of that BJR MBRLN kart. And we're going to send it down to Alexander Searle as Justin is ready to make his return 365 days later and then some. But he's here.
Yeah, Justin, first time in the go-kart since Supernats, but unlike last year, at least you did some driving this year in the SMX class. You lead the points heading into the runoffs. Nonetheless, you, just like Frankie told me earlier, you kind of forgot how physical go-karting is. That was kind of holding you back this weekend, you think?
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I couldn't even do a full session. I had to pull in about after 5 laps. You know, my neck was flopping all over the place, everything, so it was just, took a toll on my body, but I think I'm getting used to it now, getting back up to speed, so just kind of lacked some practice yesterday because of that, but I think we're good now.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, last year you pretty much entered this event, you know, with no testing. This year, at least you had some car stuff. Do you feel like at least you felt a little more prepared for this weekend?
I think so. Just being in the seat at anything, it really helps, but this is definitely so much different than anything in the SMX at least, so I think it's definitely a challenge to get back into this, but I think we're doing as good as we can.
Besides physicality, where do you think you're lacking compared to the guys around you? You had a pretty decent warm-up session here in X30 Pro. Do you think you have what it takes to maybe put it up to the top of the board?
I think so. It's just going to take a good lap. You know, I think I'm just lacking some consistency. Just don't have like that repetition that some of these other guys have, but they make laps all year. So I think we'll be good once you go through qualifying and go through the heat races. So I think we'll be up there.
You're an experienced driver around this place. We've seen, you know, varying strategies in qualifying. It seems like the best strategy is, you know, get out there, put a banker lap in early, maybe pit early as well to save some rubber. Do you feel like that's going to be the case for X30?
You know, you always have your strategy before the race, but it always goes out the window the first time you step on the track. You know, you got some guys pull over and park it and wait a lap, and other guys just go out there. So you kind of just got to play it by ear and just see how it goes on the first lap.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Just about a minute and a half, and we'll get to see Justin on the racetrack for qualifying. A huge thanks to Alexander Searle for getting us all the intel down on pit lane. X30 Junior coming to a close, and X30 Pro will roll momentarily. Minute 25, though, remain. Fianchi still on top. Couple drivers bailing for pit lane. One just went top of the screen there into the scale house early. Vanchev still second. Golseth third. Davin Roberts has climbed his way up to fourth, but right as we kind of went side by side, Jerry, they had been repositioning themselves. You can see there Nate Golseth going to do that again and try to go a little bit better. Ultimately, they're all so close in time. If they do time it perfectly and the driver in front is hitting his marks, that 1/10 of a second difference from Peyton Westcott to Fianchi, that is just how close they were to getting a tow or a good lap. Making a pass like that Peyton just made on Chase Cassidy, that hurts you 2 or 3 tenths. But if Fianchi just up in front of Peyton and Enzo Vidmontien go quick, well, she'll get a good tow. Enzo's not going to give them the chance. He's going to bail in the pit lane there, as we saw. Let's see if Fianchi tows around Peyton Westcott. Can she go any better on this last lap? She already pulled a little bit away from Chase Cassidy and Lee. Might be catching up, though, a little bit too soon, Jerry.
Yeah. You know, you really have to manage the gap here in qualifying. We've seen it all throughout qualifying. You know, we go back and talk a little bit about KA Senior. We've seen Dalton pull over in, I believe, the turn 8 hairpin and, you know, merge back onto the racing line in front of who I believe is Jared Clark. And, you know, he got an impeding penalty for that. Yeah, it's really just the game, Xander. You know, where can you position yourself, you know, to be able to pull that 2-cart length tow from, you know, the start of the lap to the end of the lap, you know, to just be able to, you know, edge out your competitors just come into the line. And yeah, it's definitely tough when your top 10 is within 2/10, and it's really close. But coming to the line here, final lap in qualifying for X30 Junior. Bianchi, I believe, is going to steal the pole here. And on the RPG Cosmic Go-Kart, Alex Vanchev pulled in a little early. Bianchi with a 48.387. Alex Vanchev in second on the Sodi with a 48.417. Nate Golsif 48.414. Davin Roberts with a 48.439. Xander, do you want to run us through the rest of our top 10?
Yeah, beyond Davin Roberts was Chase Gassie at lead. The other thing to note, all those laps came very early in the session. Back on lap 4 for nearly the entire field. A couple a little bit further late, like Commodore Martinez picked up a bit, but some of the drivers, including Bianchi and Peyton Westcott and Chase Gassie at lead, they ran all the way to the end, all the way 10 total laps compared to Alexander Vanchev, who only ran 7. Enzo Vidmontien, he pulled in early. He only ran 8, but he started or ended up in 8th. Now, down onto the grid for X30 Pro with Chase Gassie at lead, concluded the top 5 in X30 Junior. You'll notice, yeah, that is my last name on that suit. That is Dalton Haynes behind the wheel as he has gone back and forth with suit changes and kart changes with SLA Kart Racing. He's on that lime green TB kart in KA Senior. He's on Austin Perrin's borrowed Sodi, while Austin makes his debut on a Tony kart in X30 Pro. There's Austin at the back on the green and white livery machine. But 20 plus in X30 Pro, and yeah, there's going to be a few drivers that we'll have to identify that we haven't seen in a while, or that we might have in a little bit of a different color scheme. Dalton, the most notable of them, as he leads us down into turn number 8 on that black, red, and orange SLA Kart Racing Sodi. Brandon Carr, we've become pretty familiar with him on the Trinity Karting Group colored machine, and then Paulie Massimino as well on that all-familiar BJR MDR LN kart. This event, Caleb mentioned, Jerry, was our, kind of breakout onto the scene moment. It was a very similar sensation for Paulie Massimino after a couple of years of being ultimately fast and pretty close to a major X30 Pro win. Well, he won that inaugural X30 shootout in spectacular fashion. He has yet to win the overall at this race, but when we go to Trackhouse Motorplex, he's one of those drivers that everyone pegs to be towards the top of the pylon.
Yeah, Xander. I mean, we talk about some of the more competitive clubs across the country. We talk about Trackhouse. We talk about Newcastle. And, if you come here for any club race, you're gonna see kids like Dalton. You're gonna see kids like Hayden Jones. People that are locals here. Just pounding laps during the week, and people like Paulie here. He's been coaching during the week. He spends a lot of time here at Trackhouse. He knows the place well. He knows how to get around it. He knows how to get the job done. But Paulie looking on 6 minutes left in this qualifying. He's currently set up behind Brandon Carr, about 5 or 6 kart lengths back. I believe that is Frankie Mossman behind him. And they're going to look here to pull a good toe time here. To work and get a good lap in. Before the tires start to get too hot. Because I was behind that camera, Xander, and I was definitely feeling the heat. You think about the tire temps and what the track is sitting at temp wise, and obviously these drivers in qualifying, you think that money lap is lap 3 or 4. You don't want to overwork the tires too early, because then you're not going to have the tire in that operating window. But yeah, people like Paulie, he knows how to manage that, and he knows how to get the track here. And take a look at Hayden Jones.
And so that's what's important to note, right? That this may not be the most accurate read for these X30 Pro drivers till we get a couple of laps in. But Carter McMurray will at least take advantage of the early laps and throw down a heater. He'll go to the top, Massimino to second. Then Hayden Jones into third. Frankie Mossman was quickest in final practice yesterday. And he is fourth right now ahead of flying Ryan Norberg. So that puts him a 10th and a quarter off the pole, half a 10th up. There is McMurray. He's towing off the back of Mr. 9-time Ryan Norberg, the most recently crowned X30 Pro National Champ. That came at the SCUSA Pro Tour about a month ago in Newcastle, Indiana. Carter McMurray, a couple weeks ago, made his X30 Pro National debut on a last-second decision to head to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati for the 4th round of the U.S. Pro Kart Series. He was impressive there, hovered the top 10. Now at his home racetrack, trailing off of Norberg. The two of them are 4th and 6th right now, but they are not the quickest. That goes to Ryan's teammate, new driver at the top, Hayden Jones in the 316. 9,000s up on Paulie Massimino. This is a close field here in the first half of qualifying, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean, this is obviously the class. We're going to be excited to watch the shootout Saturday night. And, you know, it's stacked, you know, from front to rear. We got Hayden Jones on the RPG. You know, and, his teammate Norberg, definitely going to be 2 to watch. And as Norberg now currently sits 6th in the 348 RPG Kart. You know, talking about Norberg a little bit, you know, he's obviously been really dominant over the last, you know, 7-8 years. And, you know, when you're there that long, it really puts a target on you. And, you know, people are going to be wanting to, you know, be in front of Ryan and you know, get their name up in the front. And, you know, as I say that, as Nick Eggleston, newcomer to the X30 Senior class, puts his 324 Kart into the P4 position.
Still under a 1/10 of a second for the top 6, but great point there, Jerry. How about this for a debut weekend? We talked about the inaugural event being such a breakout weekend for Paulie Massimino. It also was for last year's overall Grand National Champion, Dalton Haynes, at just 14 years old, turning 15, moved up to X30 Pro Senior, qualified on the pole with him and his brother Roman. They're back again this weekend. Right now, Dalton, though, back in 9th. However, it is an X30 Pro Senior debut for Nick Eggleston, first ever national weekend behind the package. And being a Western-based team, the Ruthless Karting Group out of Arizona, they don't spend a lot of time in the X30 engine department. So for Nick's to be 4th right now, even more impressive when you tack that onto the fact that it's just the kid's first time racing against all of these East Coast superstars in the X30 Pro category. And with 2 minutes, 40 seconds to go, I don't know how much more movement we'll see on the board. You can see that the pack is kind of stacked up. Massimino, Mossman in that group, Carr in that group, top qualifier right now, Jones in that group. Dalton Haynes has dropped to the back of it to try and set himself up. He's now been bumped to 10th as Justin Ataconis has gone better. And there it is. A bunch of those drivers bail into the pit lane early. Haynes, Mossman, and Jones into the pit lane. Or sorry, Dalton Haynes still going. Massimino, Mossman, and Jones to the pit lane. Here's Ataconis. He's gone by on Carter McMurray, or McMurray's caught up to him, one or the other. They're still going for more. Currently 9th for the 318, 5th for the 340. Haynes slowing down as well. And I think between the fact that they're on the softer tire compound that does wear a little bit quicker and turn on a little bit quicker, that heat index that you've been mentioning, Jerry, that's got to play a factor as to why these drivers feel like they're not going to gain anything, but they could lose a whole lot if they run to the end of qualifying.
Yes, I'm not too sure if Dalton has a micron on that SLA card, but you know, I know he didn't have one in the TV, but you know, he was telling me a little bit about how hot it was yesterday, and you know, he could tell when the kart had a little bit too much grip, and you know, he wasn't going to go any faster, you know, just to pull in and save the tires. You know, Dalton a little bit yesterday was telling me about how he didn't put on new tires at all yesterday in either of the classes, and you know, when the kart didn't have anything left in it, you know, it's just time to pull in.
Carter McMurray, one of the last drivers inside the top 10, still trying to turn some laps. Good lap late there for the Vice Racing Kart Republic of Jacob Kolar. Talking with Carter McMurray yesterday, they too were initially on older rubber, and there you can see his father Jamie watching on the fence line. I think he's probably like, okay, well, I guess we could probably pull in a lap early now. 45 seconds to go. Carter's still digging, and is he going to hit the pit lane now? He'll complete this lap. So 40 seconds left. Not going to go in the scales for McMurray. Most of the field has gone in, but the rookie in his second X30 Pro weekend is going to continue to just pound some laps and get a little more intel. I think he's starting to realize now that he's the last man standing in this X30 Pro qualifying session, and he'll probably pull into the pits this time. Regardless, the checkered will wave. But yesterday, for Jamie and for Carter, they too started on older rubber, struggled a bit. I went up to check in with Jamie as we were getting all the headshots, getting Carter suited and his shots taken as well. And he's like, yeah, Dad was a little bit cheap to start today, so we had to put some tires on. They did. Speed came, and, well, he's within 800ths of the top time, and Hayden Jones is going to earn it. So the 316 Rullison Performance Group machine will start on the pole by just 9 thousandths of a second, the closest X30 Pro qualifying grid we have seen in a while here, Jerry. A 10th for the top 6, another 10th back to 10th, and it still really stays close to the midfield. But Jones, Massimino, Mossman, Eggleston, and Carter McMurray, 2 rookies inside the top 5. Very, very impressive with Terlecki, Norberg, Jacob Kolar, Ataconis, and Dalton Haynes, your top 10. Let's go down to our top qualifier. He's standing by with Alex.
Thank you, Hayden. I mean, I think experience played a big factor in that one. You played that one perfectly. I mean, did it pretty much shape out exactly how you planned it for that qualifying?
I mean, not really, because we didn't make a change from the warm-up, and because the car was great in the warm-up. But that qualifying session, I went out there and I was like, ooh, we might not have it. But came in here and someone said I was first, and I was like, wow, that really happened. So a little surprising, but it's a good result.
You came in early, just like most of the X30 Pro guys. Some of them did a couple more laps than you. Feel pretty confident heading to the first heat race, knowing that your rubber's a little bit newer than others?
I think so. I don't think one lap is going to make too much of a difference, especially with this field, because everyone's so close, everyone's experienced, so they're not going to overuse their rubber. So I think everyone has roughly the same tires right now.
You didn't get a chance to really run some long-run testing. The heat races are 13 to 15 laps, obviously 15 for you guys. Do you feel like you have something for the long run?
I think so. I mean, just drop the tire pressure and send it.
Thank you, Hayden.
Thank you.
There you have it from top qualifier Hayden Jones. We'll pop those results up for you here once again to go through it while we continue to go through the rest of our field. Here's a look once again at the top 15 as they have crossed the line in X30 Pro Senior with, again, Hayden Jones on top. But already, we're actually going to go back down to the pit lane. Dalton Haynes rounds off the top 10, 2/10 off. There's a look with the 317 just capping off row number 5 alongside Justin Ataconis. Let's get his thoughts. The reigning champ from last year's main event on Sunday is standing by with Alex.
Thank you, Zane. Spoke with the top half of the top 10. Now we're speaking with the driver who finished 10th in that qualifying session. Really, in the K and the X30 class, your strategy seemed to be get out to a lead and do your own lap times. Do you think, looking back on it, you should have maybe gotten a draft earlier on in the session?
Yeah, for sure in the KA. I mean, we tried to back off a couple times, and we were too fast. Like, we just kept catching up to people and having to pass. So then I just decided to go out front in the KA, and we ended 10th. But then we would have ended 10th in both sessions, but my bumper clamp came off, and then the bumper went in whenever I was drafting on someone. And then, so I think we're 19th in KA. I'll be fine to pass through. I'm not worried about it. But X30, like, I saw I was pulling away from Brandon, so I assumed that I was doing all right. But no one was saying anything on the fence line, so I assumed, all right, we're good. But P10, obviously, we were P1 in happy hour with a slight draft, and we're the fastest on track, honestly. I got behind Hayden the last lap before he pulled off and caught him so quickly. So I'm really not worried, and we'll be quick in the heat races. So
thank you, Dalton.
Thank you.
So with Dalton Haynes and Hayden Jones there, you had first, you had 10th. They were 2/10 apart, and it is a massive difference in how they will line the grid for all 3 heat races. In fact, heat racing is headed up next, folks. We've got the afternoon break. We are back in about 45 minutes time at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. The IAME Grand National Championship for 2024, the 4th running of this fantastic event. We'll get racing underway here before the next 60 minutes are done.